Evening all, plenty to say. Well, what the hell have we just been served up today? A lame, quiet slip of a press release saying all was not well with the genius special that RTD had concocted, and the BBC had responded with jaws agape. Lindsay Salts, the head of drama commissioning, had said she valued Doctor Who in October 2025, but was now cancelling the Christmas special for some euphemistic reason. While the BBC makes piles of money from Doctor Who, it seemingly can't stump up the cash to make one episode over a 4-year period, assuming we might get a series by about 2029. We were told it was written. Murray Gold saw drafts. The BBC saw drafts that shocked them, and then we saw nothing. After being told that Bad Wolf and Disney and RTD's super powerful mashup would mean Doctor Who was going global and would be on our screens every year, we now find it out to competitive tender, 10 months after Lindsay Salt said it was safe in her hands. Disney have walked away and dumped the spin-off. RTD has disappeared to sin on the West End stage with a musical of It's a Sin. Bad Wolf have been binned. Do you know, I almost feel all the conditions that Eccleston made for returning to Doctor Who have been met. It's wrong to say Doctor Who is cancelled. The Christmas special is cancelled. Late in the day, verylastminute.com, a new series and a firm future for Doctor Who is at least delayed. The BBC won't stomach the word cancelled, but we have drifted from aspirations of global domination to casting around for a financial streaming buddy and asking for ideas from interested parties. All is not good in the world of Doctor Who, and the words of my media source have been well and truly delivered in spades. And he may yet have skin in the game. So more of that in a moment, everybody. As you can see here, I'm in talks to put a creative team together to pitch the tender. Can't say much more at this stage, Brendan, but he's got skin in the game and he's got more to say. And I think you might want to know more about him, of course. So stay tuned for that one. And of course, this was the announcement that we'd been promised all along when on Radio 2, talking to Gary Davies, we got some cryptic message from the great super guru himself, RTD.
Done.
Will we get an announcement about a new Doctor soon?
You will get an announcement. There's a press release lumbering through the BBC, which, as you know, is like the Jurassic period. Yeah. And 57 people have to sign off on every single word. So I promise you in about a week or 2 weeks, there'll be some sort of press release. And yet I can hear the gears slowing down even as I say that.
Yep. Well, the gears have certainly fallen off. Oh, God. So, plenty to say. So, it's goodbye from me to Doctor Who, says RTD. But it's a hello to Divine and Dragon. Good to see you.
Good to be here. Howdy, howdy.
That's Texas, as I stood for. Then we go down under. Good to see you, Dan.
G'day, Brendan. G'day, gang.
And
excellent day today.
And then we go down to the south coast. And good to see John.
Hey, he's gone, everybody. The wicked wizard has gone.
You nearly got it wrong then.
I did.
And then, of course, he hasn't been on for a while, but he's got his own channel as well. Here he is. Here comes Sean.
Well, hey, RTD's gone, but Shawnee Boy's back.
Yeah, you can't have them all, everybody. It's wins and losses all the time. So let's get straight to it, everybody, because we've got a very packed show. I've got lots to show you from our media source, who, as you can see, has skin in the game and has ideas. Plenty to say. So here was the announcement today, which, as I said in my intro, it was a bit of a lame announcement, wasn't it? It was kind of, we'll just put it out there. So today we're announcing an update as part of our securing the next phase of the show. The next phase of the show, just make some episodes, will you? And in line with the BBC's charter and agreement requirements, the BBC will put Doctor Who out to competitive tender this year. Doctor Who remains an important part of the BBC, and this tender underpins the BBC's continued commitment to Doctor Who, ensuring our audiences, blah, 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 blah. Quickly show you the next little bits, just to get us up to speed. After careful consideration, the BBC, Russell T and Bad Wolf have collectively decided to run like the clappers away from this Christmas episode. This decision was not taken lightly. In other words, we panicked as well. No, and we know it will be disappointing for fans. You might be surprised. But in order to set the show up for future series, we needed Billy Piper not to be wearing shooties trousers. It was decided that rather than bridge the gap with a one-off special, is their version, we are choosing to push forward to invest in the long-term future of the show, which ensures when the TARDIS lands, once more, it does so in all its glory. Christian, is this good news? Is this bad news for you? And are you reading any of the tea leaves here?
For me, this is good news. I dare say this is going to be good news for a lot of people. Obviously, we've seen commentary from fans in many different places, and it's good only in that RTD does not have the capacity or the incentive creatively to actually fix the problem. If it could be fixed, he can't do it. It would run counter to the messaging that he wants to push. With that in mind, the next best thing is to just let it rest. And this opens the door to that.
Yeah. Good to see everybody. And people have long memories, and I don't run away from them. And I'm sure there'll be a custard pie made by garbage soon. P. Stenterford. So the Doctor Who Christmas special is cancelled. I think you need a better source, Brendan. I was talking to that source today, P. Stenterford, and I certainly asked an awful lot of questions. I'm no shrinking violet. I always ask for evidence. And we discussed why is this so lastminute.com? Why were things cancelled in the last minute? I'll lay all that through the show. But I have no problem with having a long memory. I have a long memory too, and I have a big mouth too as well. And I certainly let rip today. Jack, never forget that they didn't officially cancel the show back in '89. No, I'm not forgetting that, and we will probably mention that too. Dan, what are your thoughts on this little quiet press release?
Oh, it's amazing. Well, the fact that they went to so much trouble to lie to us for all this time and cover up the fact that they'd already cancelled it. So, I mean, this is great. I mean, at least someone in the BBC's got some common sense.
Yeah. Oncoming Storm, well, I don't lie. I do have two sources, and my BBC source, who I've been talking to today, when he was talking about how Lindsay Salt was seeing the drafts and was not happy with the drafts. RTD was not happy with the drafts. He promised he'd come back after Tiptoe and do a job on them. And they just thought it was a bit of a mess. Now, you can believe that or not, but I was asking loads of questions today. You might have more for me, and I can certainly give you more because I've been talking to the source on and off all blooming day. I certainly don't lie. I have no time to lie. I've got seriously ill family members in hospital. I don't need to be sat here making up lies. I've got a bigger life than that. So if you don't believe me, I'd probably suggest you go and say goodbye. Michael Disney, how do you invest in a show? By putting it out to tender? And what about your terrible sources, Brendan? Well, one media source, the media source I've used all the time, Michael Disney, I've just shown you a slide, and you're going to have to just go with that, mate. So let's have a look. P. Stenterford. No one is going to want to invest in the show after. Well, they are actually. They are. But they will want to see what the tender rules are. Bungle Bear, this significantly raises the chances of the next episode of the Doctor Who not being utter pish. We might just have to wait longer for it. Well, we've all argued about that. In fact, some of us, John, have been saying, give it a rest. I think you've for 10 years, maybe not 10 years, but yeah, give it a gap and we might get somebody completely different.
I mean, to be honest, when this news broke today, I loved it. It was delicious. It really was. And not only did I it was almost like getting everything that I wanted for Christmas, because it was they were resting it. RTD and Bad Wolf had been booted. Now they're saying that they're going to a tender process. The tender process, you know, I'll be honest, I still have concerns about the tender process, but it does actually look like now some adult in the room has actually gone, why the hell? What did I say on the last show we did? I said, why are you wasting a Christmas special on Russell T Davies? Get the new production team in, whoever it is, let them run with it from there. And you know, that's what someone seems to have done. Maybe they're watching the Sense Sphere, I don't know.
I was told, John, that they have watched the Sense Sphere actually, and others. I'm not saying I make any special claim that they've watched a lot of us actually, and that's why some of us they were having a dig at in looks.
Can I just say one other thing before we jump onto it later? When I saw the post from Russell T Davies today, and he basically said that there was no script, that it was just effectively they lied for it to be a placeholder while they were trying to get things going. Now he's saying that with his own words, okay, and yet he still decided to regenerate Ncuti Gatwa into Billy Piper. That shows the caliber of the man, that he has no respect for the source material or the fans. And the fact is, he's now gone, stuff it, I'll get someone else to clean up my mess. That's the caliber of the guy.
Well, I'll bring in Sean just in a second. Bill Silver, after 60 odd years, the last image we might ever see of Doctor Who will be Billy Piper's face, and we may never know why she was there. I think it might be glossed over because when I was talking to the source who's got their skin in the game and is planning a pitch, you know, I think we might just have to move forward. It's a bit one of those. Sean, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, similar to John, to be fair. I think it felt almost inevitable, but I'm quite amazed that they realised and kind of went, yeah, get rid of it. It feels a little bit like, if anybody follows the Championship, a little bit like when Southampton got kicked out of the playoff final. Like it's the right thing to happen, but you don't think the cojones to do it. So it was quite nice to see the fact that they've gone, yeah, no, like we're not going forward with this, because it, you know, yeah, just let it rest. I think the problem is I've no doubt we'll come out of this, but I don't know how much like feeling there is want for this to come back. There probably is a want for it to come back, but not in this iteration.
Yeah. And Pete Stenterford, you're asking a good question there. No company will put up a lot of money to make the show for very little in the way of views for a franchise it's on live support. It doesn't make a good business decision. Yeah, well, talking to my source today, as in the media source who will try and get a team together, they need to see what that competitive tender looks like, as in what, you know, they're going to set the ground rules, the BBC, and they'll have to look at that carefully to see whether it's worth it. So P. Stenterford, with that in mind, they need to be careful, the BBC, that they don't make this too tight and too difficult, or too, you know, like if they said it can't be scary, it can't be this, it can't be that. How many people will walk away from it before even starting? But I did make a reference, lads, earlier, and I thought it was worthwhile to do when, of course, we talked about good old Chris Eccleston, because Chris Eccleston did say if the conditions were right, he would come back. And I think we've just about got them.
Sack Russell T Davies, and I'll come back. The first series was a mess. It was to do with the people who were supposed to make it.
I say this is how we see Davros now, without the facial scarring, without the wheelchair or his this. And I'm
Welcome to the Weakest Link.
very, very proud of the fact that we have. And it's dead. Steady splits in half. 2 doctors.
You are the Weakest Link. Goodbye. Then you are unemployed.
Think of it, wherever society is, that's where you should. Awful lot of people have masturbated over my work and come up to me and tell me.
Sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter.
Play the Weakest Link. Another way of saying unemployed.
He's not quite unemployed. He's gone off to pastures new. So, yes. So I'll just move us on. So remember, No Fade to Black would have been a very wise decision, wouldn't it? When we look back at the reality war, lads, why didn't they just do the very basic thing? I said it at the time when the Press Association wanted to talk to me as soon as the filming of that program finished. Why did they need to show you the Doctor regenerating into Billy Piper? There was no need at all. A nice, neat finish would have been a nice, neat way to launch a new era. I don't get it, Christian.
Well, it was, I still think, a bid to trigger interest, to trigger chatter. Maybe some people suggest even to trigger a mechanism by which the BBC would hold on to RTD to fix the problem. You know, we keep hearing chatter about him having had scripts of some kind ready, and maybe Salt wasn't happy with what he was putting forward. usually the truth is somewhere between two extremes. I'm thinking he had something ready to go, but it didn't make sense, largely because he was not willing to fix the real problems that he'd already crafted, which is why they wouldn't have been good scripts and wouldn't have made sense. But plugging in Piper, it was again it was both a Hail Mary to generate interest, and if it didn't work, it was an FU to the general public that didn't approve of what he was doing. So he won either way.
I'm sick of this, Dan. I am sick to death of it became gimmicks. It became, let's do the shortcut version of Doctor Who. No, let's not. In fact, Dan, why don't we just spend time planning a whole series? I mean, properly, and actually then deliver. Because as you know, the second series of Doctor Who, for every different reason going, had to be rewritten. We had too many series arcs going on. We were breaking the fourth wall 1 minute. We were baiting Doctor Who fans in looks by actually showing those Doctor Who fans so many things when you could have just done a basic hour of fan rock, a lot bloody cheaper, and most of us would have been more satisfied. I just don't know why we're in this mess, Dan.
Yeah, listening to the stories of the Disney era, it sounds like the story came second to whatever was going on in terms of who was in, who was out, what was going on behind the scenes. And, you know, you're not going to get a good show out of that. I mean, I agree with you, Christian, to a point, but I don't think that RTD needed to leave this where he left it. If he knew what was happening, if he knew he was going to get a rest, you could have left it with some class. You know, you like you guys said, you didn't need to regenerate. You could have had him do, you know, it would have been symmetrical and nice if they'd just done the survival monologue on the end of the show, and it could have stood for another 15 years while it got rested.
Yeah. And as it is, we've got this mess. Sorry, Christian. Sorry. Mad Mackham, just thank you very much. Onwards, I say, it's not exactly a tragedy, is it? It's more like a necessary regeneration. Anyway, care for our jelly baby, anyone? Have to go. Night chat. Thanks for that, mate. Yeah, I'll give you this as a scare, as a thank you.
Leave the girl. It's the man I want.
Whoa! We've just avoided that, so there you go. So, what were you going to say, John, on this one, so to speak? The fade into black, what we could have done.
Well, again, it should have been a fade to black, and it should have been that would have been respectful to the new production team and the fans, quite frankly. But he didn't, did he? Because I'm going to say it, he's a complete arsehat. You know, what he has done, you know, and again, some of the stuff he has said today about, you know, what will we get? Will we get a pink police box or whatever it is? You have no rights to comment at all on pink police boxes or whatever after what you have done to the show the last few years. Absolute disgrace. And again, I'm glad he didn't get the Christmas special to do, because anybody, and I said this all along, anybody who thought Russell T Davies was going to change his ways were sorely mistaken, because he would have filled it with everything right up to the last moment. Just like he has.
I was disappointed with this era, having seen the earlier era. Devin Copeland, I have clean in universe way to fix the problems. It's too long to post in the comments. Basically, the turn left Beetle gave us everything since Disney took over. Billy showing up is the moment. There you go. There's one quick one. Over the oversea, I'm just shocked the BBC finally did us fans the courtesy of letting us know what's happening. It does get me, I have to say, Sean. This really gets me. Lindsay Salt, the head of drama commissioning, said in October, we value Doctor Who and we've got RTD to do a Christmas special. 10 months later, it happens to be cancelled, and now they're getting round to maybe thinking of doing a competitive tender. We've lost tantamount to a year. That's crap.
Yeah, but I mean, we could have had a year of Doctor Who, and in this iteration, I'd rather not. I feel like there's been a lot of smoke blown in various directions. I have a feeling that obviously RTD's done Tiptoe. I've not seen it, but it appears to be quite received, or so how much of it's come out so far. That I don't know whether he's had more offers or whether who knows what's gone on. But I think it's best I don't think anyone's. It's not like if it wasn't for RTD, I wouldn't watch Doctor Who because I grew up with that first era. And when you look at, and I'm a big lover of, obviously I do film reviews. I love behind the scenes stuff. When you watch all the DVDs of the first series, I've got the first series script book in the corner over there. It's a great book. You know, you kind of, you look at all that. When you look at the behind the scenes stuff, they talk about the risk of that first series and how worried they were that they were going to screw it up. And I think, my God, if you'd have seen what you did, like 20 years later, like they've made Doctor Who an absolute joke. This is the best possible thing that could happen. Like even people who've enjoyed this series, like the last few years, it's having a bit of a rest because even we feel it's gone a bit far. So they've lost all quarters, I think.
I just don't understand how we've got into this situation. And I have to say, and I'm very upfront. My sources are authentic. They're out there, and I will challenge them when I think I've been shafted or sold half a dud. And I tell you what, we are in June. If there was a script, and I will show you certain slides in a minute. If there was a script, why is it suddenly now not available? Why have they suddenly had an about face? Somebody has had a last minute change of mind. And yes, the fans have been left high and dry. We've lost Doctor Who for tantamount to a year, and now it's going to be many years because they've just not got their ducks in a row. And I think that's shoddy. Farsight, thank you very much. RTD's only thought was how he could get to stay on. Thanks for that. We did say at the time about the Billy Piper issue that was a kind of, we'll invite you back, RTD, to solve it. They've thought about it, and they've maybe rethought about it. What were you going to say, Dan?
No, I was just going to say, I believe RTD when he says that that they just, that the Christmas special was a Hail Mary, because you'll remember at the time there was a huge amount of momentum building, and there was a lot of negative press about how the show was dead and everything was on fire, and that it wasn't coming back. And I mean, how easy? I mean, they learned from the Kathleen Kennedy playbook of just announce something.
Yeah.
Around sales.
Totally. I mean, I sometimes think, because I prefer kind of mature debate, and I'm happy to say when I get things wrong, I've got no problem with that. I mean, some of us.
Oh, my dear doctor, you have been naive.
You may disguise your features, but disguise your intent.
And you can't approve.
You know I can't.
I don't approve of being made to look gullible, but no, I ask many questions, and I've got the quotes. I put the quotes up on screen, and if they happen to be changed by events, that's so be it. I have no problem with that. It's the way of the world. So let's have a look. Let's plod further on. So this links actually to my media source, the one who said he's going to try and get a whole pitch and concept together. He said, once you've killed the first link between, say, regenerations, basically it's a shame he didn't do the bloody fade to black. But anyway, you just have to have a TARDIS somewhere and a Doctor Who, we don't know which number he is. And so that could be a series for 2 series, and then that ends. And then they have another Doctor at another point, but none of them are linked. In other words, this lad who wants to actually get a company together to actually do a proper pitch is saying, let's just move forward. It's a shame you didn't do a bloody fade to black, but we're going to get around that somehow. Anybody want to pitch in on that one? Because I really do think he's just left it messier than it needed to be.
Well, I would say that that's not necessarily an unwise approach. Look at James Bond. Do they bother for the first 5 minutes of each new Bond being introduced, explaining why suddenly Bond looks different and is maybe 5 or 10 years younger than he was previously? No, they don't. They just have a new Bond, and they went forward with the new iteration of that character. The same rule would apply here, and it would possibly do away with the practice of regeneration, because you may end up, according to this suggestion, of doing 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4-year runs with a Doctor, and then you have another Doctor come in, and there's no regeneration story. There's no number. There's no linear process to follow. That could happen.
Now, here's the other interesting thing that I noticed was this. Jack, thanks, because I know you were a bit down in the dumps about the news today. Jack says this: RTD in the Doctor Who magazine teased the words Bafflers, Winternox, and Village regarding the Christmas special in the Doctor Who monthly last year. Today he says there wasn't a script. We're going to look at that, Jack, in a moment, because honestly, somebody is lying. Now, the lad who tells me, he's close to Lindsay Salt and all the rest of it, the one I've quoted from the BBC, he has actually said the draft wasn't sufficient. RTD wasn't happy with the script. Now, you can take that or you can leave it. But yes, he has said himself there are words to a draft. So why have we suddenly had an about face? This is the bit I don't get.
How bad was it?
How
bad could a draft be that he doesn't like it? Did it have been that RTD's gone, well, Space Babies was up to scratch, but this...
Yeah, but the thing is, Sean, I've never heard RTD slag off anything he's done. I've never heard that, so I take that with a pinch of salt, because I honestly haven't heard Russell criticize himself that way.
Well, he said before, though, hasn't he, about the fact that he only goes with the first draft, pretty much. So
in this iteration, it seems so.
So again, that's a load of BS as well. I mean, I think for me, yeah, it's going to be one or two things. Either he's lying about a script was never done because he's trying to save face because he's been booted out of the job, which wouldn't surprise me, or he just kept along, put a few words in the Doctor Who column to keep people happy as part of that plan, and decided to do the Shooty and Billy thing as a stuff you as he was going out the door.
Well, there's different versions of what happened with RTD. My media sources said he's been gone a year, and if everybody goes back to my streams, I have actually said the media source, not the BBC source, that said Bad Wolf is though he was hinting to me Bad Wolf had gone, but then he said they may be called back because they're the only ones who can do the sci-fi thing. He was kind of a bit there with Bad Wolf, but he said RTD had gone. But he also said this: what's the effing point? Why are we doing a Christmas special? What is the point of having it? He also called it an atrocious slow motion car crash, and he's been true. The BBC source said that, and I will put it up. So those people who like to kind of sit there in the back room, I've had 28 years of kids in the back row, and I'll soon give them my authentic version. Yes, on the 13th of May, that's what my BBC source said to me. So what happened between the 13th of May and today is my big question, and I did ask that.
Well, I have to suggest this. You have a gap of a full year. We're talking a year to make a decision. This announcement could have been provided 6 months ago, at least. So this suggests that there was at least a tentative approach to try and find a way to make it happen. And somewhere along the line, for some reason, the BBC decided this was not going to work, and they decided to shelve it. But they didn't do it immediately. They did it fairly recently. And I do like the observations that have been made here that RTD is very, very confident with what he puts out. He does not blow smoke against himself.
No.
Everyone else, yes, but not himself. So I'm sure he figured if there was a solution, he'd be able to provide it to everyone's satisfaction. And I think they discovered belatedly that that wasn't possible.
Sean? Sean?
I'm hoping it was a monetary decision. I'm hoping that they've looked at it and gone, yeah, we can't afford this. And I also think in terms of and I have missed a few shows, apologies, Brendan. I've had a lot going on. But there's
wow.
You've mentioned your sources. you've mentioned your sources. I think, we've all worked in organizations. I don't know how big the BBC is now, but just because you work for an organization doesn't necessarily mean you know what's going on in the top teams or what's going on. So this might be a surprise across the board because it does seem like they've pulled it really rather late.
Well, and I have to say that, I'm not hiding from what I said on earlier streams. In fact, I'm running towards it. This is what was said. So I've asked
Brendan, I've got a bad feeling.
Go on.
I just reading through everything. This doesn't mean Bad Wolf's out. They could easily be the lead runners in
Tendering,
the competitive
yeah.
tender process. They've got all the set. They know how much stuff costs. They know they've got a hell of a lot of intel in terms of.
Yeah.
But maybe Lindsay Salt just wasn't in a position to be able to just make another deal.
It seems interesting to me that Bad Wolf and RTD and Andy Pryor, the casting director, he's the casting agent. They've all gone. I think it's a clean broom. I do think it's a clean broom.
I think you're right, and it goes back to what I said earlier about the fact that it almost sounds like someone had watched the show, because when I said in the previous show that we need somebody with common sense to actually take control and basically just get rid of them. In my job, if I'm not performing, I'm showing the door. They failed catastrophically with what they had available to them, both in budget and scale. And what did they do? They decided to do an ideological campaign on the public as opposed to trying to entertain the public. And that's why it failed.
This is what I said to the BBC source today, and I didn't pull punches, and I haven't been pulling punches all day. I said, listen, if you were happy with the script and your jaws were agape, where's it gone? Why is it cancelled? There's number one. Why have you allowed us to go this far into the year and then it's a lastminute.com arrangement? What has suddenly changed? It has to have been a last minute change. Therefore, I appreciate what Sean's saying, which is just because people are in an organization, things can change within the organization. And that's what I've been asking all day. What has changed? There's something about, I was given two excuses today, and I'm going to sound like a teacher now. So the inside in the BBC says the budget, and I said 3.2 million for one-off show, and you're only going to make one episode of Doctor Who between now and 2029, and you can't afford 3 million over 4 years. That sounds a bit tight, considering all the merchandise money that comes in for Doctor Who. I don't buy that. Secondly, that the script wasn't good enough suddenly. The RTD, who had prioritized Tiptoe, who tiptoed off to Channel 4, who's apparently written a musical for It's a Sin, who's thinking about other projects, had sketched out something to make everybody's jaws agape. But once he came back to actually look at it, he couldn't make it work. So is somebody overambitious? Has somebody been rubber stamping RTD's ideas and not really marking them? I am not happy either way. So the people can tell me that happened, that happened, that happened. It doesn't add up. Something has changed, and it's either substantially the oversight has been bad. They haven't been checking the script good enough, because if 1 minute it's jaws agape and the next minute it's crud, then what happened in between? Did you allow RTD to run flying with his ambition and it was just not deliverable? If you already, sorry, I'm bringing you in, John, don't worry. Terence Dix has always said about that 5 Doctors, hasn't he? He has said the 5 Doctors was so tricky. So anybody who goes even more ambitious has to be blooming careful. And knowing that he likes to pull rabbits out of a hat and everything, John, he's left himself too much to do.
Without a doubt. And again, what you said there about there wasn't any oversight. We know there wasn't any oversight because they greenlit Space Babies. You cannot be saying, oh, the jaws are agape if you've got Space Babies that have been commissioned and it was broadcast. I mean, for crying out loud, how bad do you have to be? But this isn't new. We were talking about this on a previous show. Look at the last 20 odd years of new Doctor Who. Look at the amount of things that have gone on behind the scenes where there's been controversy. It's because people weren't doing their job, who should have been reeling people like RTD in. And that's the trouble, is because they were friends with him. And you need somebody in there who is basically going to say, I don't care if you're, so-and-so. This is rubbish. Go back, come back when it's a bit better. and you keep working at it until you agree that's good enough to produce. They weren't doing that. They were clearly just going, right, okay, Russell is, let's all bow to the great one and commission his scripts.
But this is
That's
it.
what they were doing.
Did they commission him to do a Christmas special, but they hadn't seen the Christmas special script? In other words, RTD was given a freebie. If I want to make a new idea to pitch to the BBC, and I don't have a hinterland like RTD, I will not get in the room. I will be put in the bin. RTD seemed to be given a free pass here. He has been successful before, but I'm sorry, but RTD's Doctor Who recently has hit the buffers, and I would have thought everybody's skepticism was higher on this one.
I also, just before the other guys come in, I just wanted to finish off with by saying, I actually also think this post he did on TikTok or wherever it was today
I'll show you that, yeah.
was also a pop at the BBC, because the BBC have basically set out, this is going to be our new era of Doctor Who. We're putting it out to tender. And what's he doing? He's basically saying, we lied. We never had a script in place. It was just a placeholder. That damages the credibility of the BBC as he's going on his way out. So I think that's part of it as well. That's what he was doing. It's very cunning what he did today, because he's going against the BBC.
Well, he's
what
not
their
happy.
narrative was.
I know he's not happy. Now, Michael Disney, I don't run away from you. You can have your little jibes in the corner. So I'll come back to you again, Michael Disney, sat there, who obviously hasn't heard my context or anything. Maybe doesn't care for it. Be very careful, mate. Maybe Brendan, these sources are full of BS. Oh, no, they're not full of BS. Number one is a friend, one is authentic, and one I've seen plenty of evidence. Christian has seen the evidence. John has seen the evidence. So you need to take that one back, mate, because you ain't got a clue what you're talking about. That's my media source. My BBC insider has said what he said, and I would show you the slides now. I've got no problem with that, mate. I'm here. You can see my face. I ain't got a problem with that. I have a problem when it is now illogical or something's been changed. And you can guess what, Michael Disney, you get behind the queue. I'm in front of you, and I also have questions, and I've asked questions all day. So, Michael, calm down. I have questions to ask, and I have asked them. Yeah? I'll say that. And I'm giving you explanations. If I'd been sat in a room like some sado making up stories, oh my God. Michael,
that's what I do.
Yeah. Michael, you wouldn't give me the time of day, would you? I mean, do we really believe there are streamers out there who sit there making up slide after slide? I have 176 slides of quotation. What a tosser I must be if I make them up. Michael, make a decision now. If you think I'm not authentic, bye.
Brendan, I just in Michael's defense, I don't think they're attacking you. They're just, the sources live and die by their accuracy. So, I think they've got to take a bit of an L today, because this is egg on their face, not you.
Yeah, the BBC one I have challenged. My media source is no problem at all. He has not had a problem and he's been fine. And so everybody's got to be very careful when they say sources. Well, you need to work out what, So Dongo, to be honest, I'm over the moon. Doctor Who on television has been embarrassingly bad for 10 years now, and all of it needed to end. The show, the magazine, and those awful BBC YouTube shows. Right. MB, the behind the scenes stuff has become more interesting than the main show. Well, that seems to be all we talk about. I know. Bungle Bear, did Christopher Eccleston plant his friend Billy Piper in the last regeneration scheme to scupper it all? I mean, it does look like great revenge for him, I must admit. P. Stenterford, I don't think RTD was ever commissioned to write a Christmas special. He's been working on a lot of other projects. You see, that's what I was told, P. Stenterford. And I really am confused by this. And I've looked at the evidence and I'm going to present it in a minute. We were told at one point he's been commissioned. Then he said the jaws were agape. Then he said these are the words in the script. And there were lots of different gaps. Murray Gold said there were multiple drafts. And then suddenly we're told it's not good enough and it's all got changed. Something is wrong here. Now, I'll come to it now, right? Because I'm not hiding from it, but I have no problem to hide from it at all. I'm a mature bloke, I would actually suggest. So this is what was said in October 2025 to do a kind of juxtaposition of what the hell's going on. The previously announced new Doctor Who animation series yeah, that's when she was waffling on today about CBBS. Well, I don't want to waste time talking about that. So yes, in 2025, this is what they said. BBC confirms future of Doctor Who and a new Christmas special. Yeah. And so you remember, the BBC announced this in October. It's not even a year ago, and they've now pulled it right back. So they've all got egg on their face. Today, the BBC announced Russell's been asked to do a special commission. With Disney Plus confirming they will not be partnering on the next season of the sci-fi show, the BBC remain fully committed to the show. And there's Lindsay Salt saying, "We'd like to thank Disney, blah, blah, blah. The BBC remains fully committed to Doctor Who, which continues to be one of our most loved dramas, and we are delighted that RTD has agreed to write us another one." So in October, she's saying he's agreed to write one. Yes, he'd been writing other stuff, and yes, he has many projects, but they were just waiting for him to have time to do it. I dare say they saw a version of a draft. Now, John and others have been referring to this, and I think this brings a lot into motion as well. RTD, as you know, on Instagram today, gave us quite a meaty goodbye. And let's break it down, lads. And so goodbye from me to Doctor Who, but hello to a big new future for the show. As the BBC announces, it's putting the show out to tender. As a result, there won't be a Christmas special. We only cooked that up to guarantee a future when no one knew what would happen. But now we do know there's no need for it. You'll have to wait a bit longer for new Doctor Who. Oh, now I'm going to show you all of it. Christian, just be calm. This is fine. This is fine. This was all part of the plan. I thought he was taking over the universe with a Marvel Disney Doctor Who. It was going to be beamed into every home in the world. They were going to reach new audiences, blah, blah, blah.
No. It's rationalization. I think it's very hard to generate and promote a straight lie, a bold-faced lie for 12 months continuous, as well as get all of the little tidbits of certain back scene shenanigans, as there's this much, there are these terms involved, here's how they've reacted to it, oh, we're waiting for him to be available. It comes back to, for some reason, he was not able to fulfill whatever tenets of his contract he had to fulfill. Maybe he came back and realized, okay, here's my grand idea. And they said, we can't give you that much money. You're going to have to do it for this budget. And he said, no, it's got to be this big. Well, then this is not going to work. Or he came up conversely with, we've got this much of a story and I've got to have these political elements pushed in it. And they said, no, we've already antagonized enough people. You'll have to step back from that. He said, no, it's got to be on my terms. So whatever the conditions were in the back rooms, he wasn't able to deliver. This becomes a cop-out for him to say, we knew that we were lying to you, that this was never going to happen. So as John was saying, he's saving face. He's protecting himself. At the same time, he's casting aspersions at the BBC about lying, saying that they were being disingenuous and that everyone else was along for the ride. So
well, I'm not trying to save grace or anything for me. I'm quite happy to front things out. Michael, I'm happy for you to stay. I might put the simple question, why would you watch me if you think I'm making things up? That's my question. I don't ban people because I'm actually, I'm 58. I'm a bit grown up. But it's still a question. Why would you watch a channel if you think we make it up? If you think I've made up 176 slides, well, I mean, then why bother wasting your time? My issue is, and please believe me, while I was in hospital today, I was asking questions of the BBC source because I wasn't happy either. So, Michael, are we on the same side or what? Or are you just trying to kind of bait? I want mature debate. I hope you do too. I'm not a channel to do nonsense anymore. You either believe me or you don't. Squinty Mint, it was announced as a done thing before he said he had to write the script. I think they realised too late that fans don't share the media industry's adulation for guys these days. Real geriatric. I know people ask this all the time. In fact, Ace, Sophie Aldred asked this as well. Is your source red or brown? Well, I'm talking about two sources. And I can't give away because it's not fair, because one of them still is very interested in the Doctor Who franchise. So I'm going to protect them, actually, quite rightly. Farsight, the placeholder story is bull. RTD could have simply left the show with the original ending and start afresh with a new Doctor. Yeah, it was just too proprietorial, wasn't it, Dan? It was like, he can't leave it alone. To me, Dan, it's like when we watch the War Games in colour, or you watch the Daleks, or you watch various things. You have the regeneration fairy dust on the War Games one. You have the new music added. It has to be styled in RTD's image. You know, it's like ownership of all 63 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he certainly left a mark on it. But look, I really hope that
big smelly mark.
Skid mark. Skid mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I think that this is a positive announcement, as long as they don't do something really stupid like give the competitive tender to Bad Wolf. That that would worry me, that still could be on the cards. I'd rather see it cancelled than this. But look, to be fair to the sources who, you know, I take Brendan and his word that I know these guys are real people. To, I mean, RTD he's saying that they were all lying. You know, all of them. The BBC top. There's clearly a conspiracy here to keep things under wraps, and only they knew what was going on, and you've got public companies involved, so you can't. You know, that's the other thing. I'm just thinking, well, yeah, there were other interests at stake here other than the BBC, so they had their reasons.
Well, thank you, Mike and Nemo. 2017 just called and said, "I told you who was dead."
Everyone sees and knows too much.
Yes, well, exactly. Everybody can now say, "I told you so," in so many different ways. John, this first part of the statement from RTD, how does it sound to you?
Can I use arse hat again? You know, it's just again, I always hate that. I know they have to do these exit things, but to have this guy, and so goodbye from me to Doctor Who, but hello to a big new future from the show, as the BBC announces it's putting the show out to tender. I'm just like, I don't want to hear from you anymore. I don't care anymore about what you've got to say about Doctor Who. You did what you did to the show, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. You cannot be a Doctor Who fan if you did what you did to the show. That's it. You cannot look back over the 60 odd years and go, do you know what? I'm going to turn the Doctor gay. I'm going to have identity politics everywhere. And that is what I'm going to base the show on. And I'm going to fill it with drag queens. Now, I'm sorry. None of it in the show's history comes close to that. You've had the Ken Dodds of this world and stuff over the years, but this guy, again, I hate the fact he's the better than thou kind of mentality when he tweets like this, you know, and puts a post out. It's like, you screwed it up, mate. You decimated a franchise because of your ideology. Now bin yourself off.
Yeah,
he duplicated the TARDIS with a mallet. I mean,
that
says it all.
Yeah,
and by generation, everybody.
I mean,
that's got to be fixed up.
So I'll be coming to Sean just so Sean knows he's coming in. But on this first bit, so goodbye from me to Doctor Who, but hello to a big future. It's the classic case of saying, you know, I'm leaving. It's been left in a bit of a mess. Script-wise, it's not landed. Even Bad Wolf, who were trusting in me, let's face it, Bad Wolf had a brilliant deal here. They got RTD in to really seal the deal as well. Disney were brought in. This was the perfect scenario. And RTD's left, Bad Wolf has left, Disney has left. This is an utter balls up. And so him saying, oh, well, what a great future for the show. We are not where we were in 2017. We're not where we were in 1989. We're in a very different place here. And as a result, there won't be a Christmas special. I have to say, I'm sick of calling them specials. It's just saying that there's another one. We only cooked that up to guarantee a future. And that's the bit that peeves me off the most, Sean, when he says, we cooked this up. We're not mugs. We're not stupid. We are always questioning. I've been questioning, like I said, my source all day. The other One Piece Centerford is fine. It's not plural. One of them. And of course, the issue is, why are you doing gimmicks? Sean, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's a very strange. The tone of that is very, very odd. You know, it's that we only cook that up. That comes across, whether it's we know how we read written word, it's got no tone. That comes across as incredible. And not to echo John, but he made a great point that, you know, if you love something, love and the passion for Doctor Who, because presumably in his head, he thinks the last couple of years he's done his best to get whatever he's done his best to keep Doctor Who going. That's what he thinks in his head. You'd hope. This should be devastating to realize you've come back in, you've buried it. You've absolutely buried it. You've buried it.
Yeah.
You've concreted over. You've put them little cages over to stop the zombie crawling out. Like, you know, you've done everything. You've Margaret Thatchered it to the mines. You poured concrete down the shaft. It's stuffed. So you know, he really has done a good job on this. It's just very, very odd to kind of go out. Why not grace and a little bit of, you know, I did my best. It didn't. Go out with a bit of grit, you know, hold your head up high and go. What people have thought.
They're in such an industry where, of course, let's face it, and that's what I was saying today to the BBC bloke. I said, you lot cover each other's asses. That's what you do. Now, Josie Smith, I can say this. You say, is your source, this is the BBC one, the other one has great integrity and it's proven. Is your BBC source higher or lower department? He's a director and he's an editor. And he has had meetings with Lindsay Salt. So there you go. That's that, right? So you can decide whether that's higher or lower. Bungle Bear, Channel 4 audiences get RTD. His dramas with a political point do well there. The problem was that his style bled too much into Who. And by the way, my understanding is why wasn't Tiptoe shown on BBC? Because it was too risky. It wasn't their style. So exactly what you were saying there, mate. I've seen 4 episodes of Tiptoe. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure at all. I think it's just conflated too many things. It's conflated conspiracy theorists, Brexit, homophobes, football hooligans, all in one character. Oh, so conveniently. Yeah. Oh, my God. So, Julie, that smug smile drives me crazy. You can't help, but he is giving us false hope. He's going... well, I've heard he is going. We've said it a long time now. Now, let's have a look at the next bit of this statement before we get to see so many of the inconsistencies.
So can I just say then? So, his boyfriend filming himself at the TARDIS console was probably the last production he was involved in for Doctor Who. Then, RTD.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. I mean,
because that was earlier this year, wasn't it?
It was.
You know, where he was dancing around the console.
Yeah.
So.
To Murray Gold's music, yeah. So what we've got here is he says you'll have to wait a bit longer for a new Doctor need for it. You'll have to wait a bit longer for a new Doctor Who, but you'll be waiting for more Doctor Who than a one-off. So it's worth it. For the record, no script, I never wrote it, and no actor was ever approached to play the next Doctor. Well, I get that bit because he was no longer the showrunner and he has no dibs on it. The bit he says when he said there was no script, I never wrote it. Now this brings everything into play. You may disagree. Fine, sit in that chair and wait till you're proved right. You'll wait for a long time. Now I'm as excited as anyone. Now, first of all, lads, I'm going to bring you all in. But remember, he says, I never wrote the script. there was no script. And as every Doctor Who fan worth their salt says, number one, he said to us, he showed them his ideas and their jaws were agape. Now, if I wrote a Doctor Who script at the back of an envelope, I would expect BBC executives to be questioning. So it needs to have been substantial enough for them to say, we like your ideas, and to commission it, I assume. So who's lying or who's telling the truth? But he did say, I did a stream on it, he did say, I haven't started writing the Christmas special yet. So it's very true, lads, that Lindsay Salt commissioned him in October 2025, and he was not in a position to write it at that point, but he gave some ideas that made them realize we weren't going to worry about it. If you look at this Instagram, he dates 23rd of June 2025. He was writing episode 5 of Tiptoe. Now, I'm not aware of anything else he's written since it's been broadcast. So after him finishing that in June last year, a year ago, what else has he been doing that the BBC couldn't get him back to write the BBC script for Doctor Who? This is the bit I'm not getting. So I haven't written it yet. If that is right, and I don't see why not, he says he finished the script in June 2025 and the BBC announced him in October 2025, saying he's commissioned to do a script. Where's the gap? Why is it not written? That's what I don't get. And then when we add to that Murray Gold saying, I know that Russell's written multiple versions depending on certain outcomes, I am really, really confused what the hell's going on here, lads. Has anyone got an idea?
The only thing I can think of at this point, Brendan, is that he had some ideas. He had some outlines, maybe not full scripts. He said, here's my potential response. Oh, I've got Tiptoe to do. Let's focus on that. You've got this lag time, as we've pointed out. Okay, he's not available, but we trust him because he's come through before. We're going to give him the leeway he wants. He comes back, and now conditions are changing. It could well be that he was insisting that there be a successor doctor, but they'd actually been fishing for someone willing to take the role, and they couldn't find anyone who was reputable, who was willing to gamble on it. So they went back to him and said, well, okay, we've got this problem. And these things kept snowballing all the way through the spring without any kind of fair resolution. And somewhere along the line, it culminated with them deciding to pull the rug out and say, this is just not going to work. We're going to start fresh. And that meant he was off the hook, even though he'd initially been commissioned.
Jack here says, really wish RTD didn't say that every doctor didn't regenerate and survive in the timeline. Weird wish, but I hated how things like this in Davos were messed up with. I know, when we look back, it's a waste. I think the strongest thing I said today to anyone who wanted to listen was, what a wasted opportunity. We had the most money we've ever had for Doctor Who with the Disney budget. We then had 2 seasons with a brand new actor, lead role, 15th Doctor. And we decided to go down this road, this cul-de-sac of making the Doctor very sexual, making the Doctor very human. Why? There was no need for it at all. Zero Room, good to see you back. I'd love to talk to you again. Hope you're well. I just watched The Leisure Hive. Oh my God, yes, when we used to launch things. They said the purpose of the Hive was to promote understanding of different alien species. Then they moved on. That's how to make social commentary in sci-fi. Here. Totally agree with that.
What you said there, Brendan, though, about, it was a wasted opportunity. I mean, again, it was, because, I'm sure a lot of us, Doctor Who was on life support under the Chibnall era, right? Russell T Davies was announced to be coming back, and people like me who'd stepped away said, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to get behind this, and I'm going to support him. And then we had the build up, as I've said before. We had the whole, the Doom idiot woman or whatever that was causing controversy before we'd even got there. Yeah. Then we got to the 60th. Then we saw what was going on with the pronouns and all that in those episodes, and it was atrociously bad. Then we got to the series with Ncuti Gatwa, and we had touch grass. We had Jinx Monsoon's famous quote, and I'd love to see him now, because effectively, what was it he said? Oh, for every stupid Doctor Who fan, I'm paraphrasing, we'll bring in 5,000 more. Tumbleweed Jinx.
Don't let the door hit you on your way out.
Yeah.
Oh, David Frame, thank you very much, by the way. David Frame, thank you very much. We need a laugh for a second before. Remember, my media source, who has skin in the game and is getting a package together to actually make a pitch, has got more to say tonight, and I'm going to show you that. But let's have a laugh for a moment. Oh, thank you, David Frame, for being so generous. We need a laugh.
Roll up, and see these funny little creatures in the native habitat. Watch them go through their funny little tricks. Poke them with a stick and make them jump.
My vengeance starts here. My paralysis has left me. Move again. I can move.
You're a lot better off here than one of the cells.
Yes, good old Joe Grant is guest starring as Planet of the Apes with that enormous Stuart Fell costume. So, what else did RTD say before we go into... Because my media source said, Brendan, you should have been reading between the lines ever so carefully, because the clues were there, and I'll show you them. Now, as I'm excited, says Russell T, as anyone, to see what comes next. Will I keep the theme tune? Will I lose the blue box? Will I bring back the drive-in? It's all up for grabs. This... Oh, do you know what... Why is he trying to kind of sound like JNT? Remember all this about, will it be a female doctor? I know Tom Baker said that as well. Will we get rid of the chameleon circuit with the TARDIS? Will we do the... Oh, just stop it. Just stop it. Stop going for cheap headlines. Stop, just leave the room quietly. You've done a lot in Doctor Who. Some of it was good. Leave it alone. Leave and stop trying to trigger more headlines. Doctor Who is beyond headlines. Doctor Who now needs something of substance. It needs to be taken seriously and no longer be a gimmick, an object of ridicule or mockery. And doing clickbait and doing all these cheap stunts all the time doesn't work. So it's important that's said. Dan, a few words from you, because I know you've got to go to work.
Yeah, look, guys, it's Friday here and the future is bright. So no matter what happens, we live in hope now. So, yeah.
Well, you have a good day. Thanks for seeing you. We'll see you later.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Dan. Take care, mate.
So, Sean, did you want to come in there? Because I just feel as I'm being triggered.
No, well, I mean, at least somebody's got a bit of fight left in them. I mean, I'm quite apathetic at this point. I think it's the best thing that could have happened. I mean, dear God, we forget, say, oh, well, Doctor Who. No, yeah, but it's not though, is it? It's more of this utter guff. Like, it would have been more of the same. It wouldn't have. If they'd had a Christmas episode or special, whatever, it would have come out. He'd have done something even more insane. And we'd have been like, I think I saw a comment a way back. A few people have said, we've had 10 years of this. Yeah. Like, it's such a damaged show. It's bizarre that you look back at the Chibnall era and go, that was just somebody who didn't have the talent, weaving in bits and bobs of bits of history here and there, trying to make themselves look good. But I don't think there was any malice behind it, to be honest. Whereas, you look at the last couple of years and you're like, oh, dear me, what? It was it felt so vindictive, laughing at them, like laughing at the fans, and like they say in The Wolf of Wall Street, the chickens have come home to roost because, as I posted earlier today, we told you it was rubbish. We people get, you get a lot of backlash, or you don't like this, you're this, you're that. No, we're just fans who love a show. So if we didn't love it, we wouldn't bother about it. And we didn't like what we were seeing. we were fair with our criticisms, wanted it to get better. I honestly, like John said earlier, I was so hopeful when RTD was coming back. I didn't think it would be completely, you know, like the old, but I thought, oh my God, there's a chance. And then for it to come back and be so utterly horrific. I mean, it was just pathetic. It just didn't, you didn't believe in itself, and you just thought, oh, this is awful. Oh, it was awful. But it was vindictive. It felt vindictive as well. That's the problem. If it was just rubbish, you can sorry, I'm ranting myself now. If I'm not that apathetic, clearly, but if something is just poor, like the Borough, you go, okay, we're poor. It can't be helped. We're doing our best. When something's purposefully awful and vindictive and trying to poke fun at people watching it who just want escapism from a family member in hospital, a family member having falls all the time, you know, all this, we've all got stuff going on. We like a bit of escapism. That these shows are, or they're meant to be. Kicking off now, but yeah, you know what I mean. We just want a good show.
So, I mean,
no one's happy, but yeah.
Right,
on,
Michael Disney, Mr. Squinty Mint is right. Your sources said the BBC didn't understand the show. You're using plural. My media source said the BBC didn't understand the show, and he's stuck with that, and he's stuck with that, and he's also going to make a pitch to BBC. The BBC insider obviously, you know, is defending the BBC and maybe isn't seeing things objectively, and that's the snag. And I have pointed that out quite sharply today. Mark Ashley Pat, good to see you. How many other BBC TV showrunners caught the media and frontline interviews as well as the actors? Surely there are more forward-thinking writers with fresh ideas who should elbow RTD into retirement. Mark, it's a fantastic. It's interesting that do we need in Doctor Who in the future to have a very JNT style person or a quieter Barry Letts style person? You know, I'm trying to work out. I mean, I don't think Verity Lambert was on every I know it was a different era, but what I'm saying is even in the 80s and the 90s, she wasn't being interviewed all the time about all her projects. And she gave 1 or 2 interviews about Doctor Who, and she tried to be diplomatic. She wasn't seeking the limelight. She didn't seek the limelight when she made El Dorado. I just think there's certain people who do seek the limelight and think the show is also imbued with them. Don't know what you think about that, Christian.
I think that's very much the case. If you look back at the previous producers and the current era showrunners, going all the way back to 2005, the only person who has clamored for public recognition really is RTD. So as flamboyant as his mode of expression happens to be, as hyperbolic as he tends to articulate all of his grand ideas, he really seems hungry for attention. And sometimes that's the wrong position for someone in the role that he's supposed to be filling. He is not P.T. Barnum running a circus, and it's his name on everything. He's supposed to be a simple showrunner guiding and establishing ties.
And to be honest, let the show, John, let the show make the headlines. You know, there are shows out there. Traitors, I didn't discover Traitors. It was word of mouth that came to me. Then I passed it on to Mum and Dad and others. Sometimes do it that way. I'm not aware of who the producers are of Traitors. I'm not seeing them on every blooming BBC show going big on it. The show speaks for itself.
100%. And again, I've said before, we got to a point where it was almost like more about RTD than it was about Doctor Who, because he was always in the limelight saying something, and he got too big for his britches, quite frankly. I got to be honest, we need to go back to a producer of Doctor Who that, to be honest with you, nobody knows about particularly. No one gives a stuff about outside of, you know, the media industry. And they just work on making great Doctor Who with their team as good as it can possibly be. The positive tonight, guys, is the fact that he is gone, Bad Wolf are gone, and we're moving forward. I'm a bit shaky about the tender process, but I've been calling for this for a long time, because my concern was it was going to be Pete McTighe, and it would have been the same thing over and over again, passing the baton between mates, the same ideology, the same preaching. It wouldn't have been Doctor Who. Now they're all out. It gives you an opportunity to actually say we could get proper Doctor Who, but again, we might not get good Doctor Who. It could be worse, but we
John,
can navigate.
John, I was saying one of the big problems though with Tinder, and Brendan's brought it up here, if the process as it's mapped out is so restrictive, that in itself may set conditions that force it to be shelved for a decade or more, because there are simply too many constraints applied for any corporation to be willing to gamble on.
And I will get to my media source, independent TV producer, on their thoughts on that. Thank you, Nicola Dolby. We should count our blessings. The Raw Karate have gone. As soon as Disney deal ends, they can get a new streaming partner and a fresh start. I know some people are worried about whether we will get a new fresh streamer, whether anybody would take the risk. But you have to hope that they would see that there's kind of still scope. I mean, if I just remind you, the first RTD era, I still thought this was a great way to end the first series.
Doctor, coordinates 5.6.1. No, my master, no, I defy you. My masters.
Are you saying that this whole setup's been a disguise all along?
Someone's been playing a long game, controlling the human race from behind the scenes for generations.
There's nothing there.
It looks like nothing, because that's what this satellite does. Underneath the transmission, there's another signal. Hiding it from sonar, radar, scanner. There's something sitting right on top of planet Earth. If I cancel the signal...
It's impossible. I know those ships.
That's just about 500,000 of them. Daleks.
Alert, we are detected. Open communications channel. I will talk to the doctor. The Dalek stratagem nears completion. You will not intervene.
Oh, really? Why's that then?
We have your associate.
No.
Explain yourself.
I said no.
But she will be destroyed.
Because this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna rescue her. I'm gonna save Rose Tyler from the middle of the Dalek fleet. Every last stinking Dalek out of the sky!
No weapons, no defenses, no plan.
And doesn't that scare you to death? Rose?
Yes, Doctor?
I'm coming to get you.
Begin the invasion of Earth.
Doctor Who, says Eccleston, I'm coming to get you. That's more like it. So let's have a look at some of these contradictions. So this is what my media source said. They said, did you see some of the clues? This was on Newsround. RTD said, I kind of know that the Doctor's reached the status of Robin Hood. Sometimes there might be a pause, and during the pause, the viewers of Newsround now will grow up a few years and start writing stories, and they'll bring it back. Was that a clue all along that he'd gone? That actually it's over. The series is over. Then when we look at this from Doctor Who magazine, RTD himself said, but we don't know what's happening yet. And while everyone works that out, I'll take a pause on this page. Was that another subtle little thing that was under our nose? The less subtle version was me and John every bloody Sunday were looking at the ratings, and it didn't matter whether we did the overnights, the consolidated, the 3-year figures. They always lost to Country File. They always lost to other stuff. And it was tanking. It wasn't working, John.
Yeah, I mean, again, there was evidence out there early on that it was a dumpster fire. And again, for the money spent, even if you'd halved it, it would have been disastrous viewing figures. It's really quite extraordinary. And, you know, I'm not this guy at all normally, but I am going to say this tonight, okay? All of these fans who basically kicked off at us for stating our opinions that this wasn't Doctor Who, this wasn't very good quality, it was going to destroy the show, who were basically, you know, smelling the farts of RTD for the last few years, and now tonight they're all online doing their little crybaby videos because what a surprise! It's tanked and it's crashed and burned as we said it would, because just like Star Wars, just like Star Trek, people are sick and tired of the ideology and the message being put into something that is meant to be escapism entertainment. Escapism. Do you get it yet? Now, it looks like someone at the BBC has actually figured it out and gone, do you know what? We actually need, do you know what, to make it successful? We actually just need to make Doctor Who, like traditional Doctor Who.
Can we please make science fiction?
Oh, I don't know, John.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go on, Sean.
I mean, I don't want to put the boot into the BBC, but I don't know whether, I mean, because look what they've put up with over the last 10. I think, you know, maybe it's come from RTD. Maybe he just doesn't have the fight for it anymore. Maybe he's just I can't be doing with this. He's got his obviously critical acclaim, so I see, from Tiptoe. He's doing bits and bobs, and he's thought, you know what, I can with this. I mean, it might be a bit of both. It's probably a little bit of both, but unless there's been a change somewhere up near the top and someone's pulled the rug, I honestly think the BBC would have brought this back. I don't see the BBC for the last 10 years all of us growing a brain, going, oh yeah, no, this isn't very good actually. I've just been honest. I'm not disagreeing with you on merit, but I don't know. I think you're giving him too much credit there.
I mean, my media insider, who actually, you know, media source who said this all along, he said it wasn't Doctor Who. It just wasn't Doctor Who, and a lot of you agree with that. Now, the reactions were interesting. Ian Levine here, they blatantly lied to us. This is 1989 all over again. RTD blatantly lied. I've never been so angry. What is it, Christian, that you, as a Doctor Who fan, you're most angry about today?
The sheer condescension in the attitude of RTD about how this all came about. Again, he's claiming that there never was anything in the works, that everything's been on hiatus, whether it's him trying to malign the BBC or somehow justify why he wasn't productive. You have all of these factors at play, but the bottom line is there's a level of condescension, because for him, this current iteration, the Disney iteration of Doctor Who, was all about him. Has anyone noticed how in Lucasfilm you had so many different, what would they call it, Kathleen Kennedy self-inserts? Yes. When I look at what he produced, he was producing what amounts to an RTD self-insert. If it wasn't in characters, then it was in topics of his personal interest. So there's a level of condescension, not just in how he handled the most recent release, telling us there never was anything in place, I'm gone, bye all. But also there's a presumptuousness to him that we should be grateful to get good news from him. It's kind of like an arsonist burning down your house. And then after the house is all ashes and it's put out and everyone's walked away, they come up and they shake your hand and say, I hope you had a good day and I hope you have a nice house to put up tomorrow. Do you really want any kind of glad handing from someone who's just burned your house down? So there's just a boatload of ill feeling.
And as I come to you, John, we see Ian Levine saying he's not happy himself. That's his opinion. Bungle Bear says, look at the options for the BBC. Keep ploughing money in, having to go into meetings and hassle with Disney, or just make something similar to Countryfile, less cost, less aggro, better ratings. And JWC reviews, one byproduct of the introduction of woke into the show is the drastic decline in story quality. Almost as if ideology has replaced good dramatic writing, an excuse for lazy rubbish writers. JWC reviews, I'd add even more. It had that superficiality. It had a superficial arc. It had little member berries. I mean, whether Susan was in it or not seemed to be irrelevant. And actually, she was cut in the end and it didn't change anything. And then other things were seen as too important. The Poppy nonsense, the Time Lords being barren. There was no need for Omega. There was no need for Sutek. These were just stunts to show off some CGI. And the show could have been cheaper and actually more impactful and actually had more integrity than saying, look, we've got some bone dinosaurs, a bone palace. It looked like Fred Flintstone's palace. I didn't know what they were trying to do. It didn't make any sense to me. So I agree with you there, JWC Reviews. But John, I'm coming to you on today. When you look at it, what is the biggest upset or criticism you've got? Because I think ultimately, John, for me, I don't know if it was the lying, if it's lying that counts today. I think it's that we've wasted nearly a year not putting it out to tender. We've lost a year.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's the most annoying thing about it. I don't know. I've got a feeling that it's been out to tender for a while, secretly, but they haven't found anyone yet. That would be the story they wouldn't want breaking. I've just got a feeling. But again, if the two things can't be true, because if RTD is saying that they deliberately put out that lie last year to say that a Christmas special was coming and he was writing the script, but then he said today he never wrote a script, it was all a lie.
Yeah.
Then that makes sense if there was a tender process beginning at that time, you know, because they would have known at that point kind of what was going on. So there's definitely some murkiness going on here, but I think I just think that, yeah, you're right. It's wasted time. I don't know why they decided to delay for so long. There was clearly some internal wranglings and things going on which might have slowed it down. I get that, but you know, we are where we are now. Hopefully someone takes control of it at some point that is going to treat it with the love and respect it deserves.
Well, I will show you what the media source, his ideas, you've been hearing them all along, and he's not the one who I would challenge at all. In fact, I'd really go with a lot of his ideas, so I'll show you that. But Sean, as I bring you in, you can see on the screen here, the other thing that's gone wrong, now we're in this position, is if you look at the last few years, we've had too many changes. We don't have a settled doctor. We're going through doctors faster than football managers, and we always know that's a bad look, and it never works. And it just feels like Doctor Who at the moment needs to be bedded in. I think it needs greater awareness across a year's calendar on TV. I think we missed that. I think by going big and glossy and all that, we've missed the whole bloody point of what Doctor Who should be. And I think we should have had shorter episodes, cliffhangers across more of the year. Yes, had scary cliffhangers, and actually tried to keep a doctor a kind of publicly there for longer. If you look at that chart, we've just been jumping around: a 14th Doctor, a 15th Doctor, a fugitive Doctor, a ward Doctor, a fantasy Doctor. It's just got ridiculous, Sean.
Yeah, I remember saying this when, oh, Garland.
All right, he's gone again. Not sure that buffering.
Yeah.
Let's move on. It's no problem. So also what Russell was saying, and now here's one great reaction from Stephen Moffat. He said, I haven't got a clue what's going on. All news to me. No idea what's coming either, but Braveheart, everyone, it's a cliffhanger. The Doctor always survives those. They're all, I have to say, in the end, they're trying to say, be mature, go with it. Doctor Who's not over. There's no drama to see here. And another way of looking at it is they're all covering for each other as well.
Well, they all have to cover for each other. My goodness, they're working in the same small network. It's very nepotistic. It's a small clique, and everyone kind of has to circle the wagons in order to keep the operation intact. But there's no way for anyone who's not within the inner circle to fully be aware of what's happening. But one thing I will say is although the news is that we've got it out to tender and it may come back in X number of years, that's no guarantee that it will. After all, we were told the Christmas special was in the work for 12 months. And all of a sudden it's not. And we've lost a year. It's amazing how quick a year can go.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me if it doesn't come back despite all of their attempts to try and find another producing company.
Well, let me just show you. So Stephen Moffat says that now. Hey, this is interesting, John. Look at he threw in his ex today, Straczynski. I can never say his name. Why hasn't he changed his name here without JMS? A relatively quick note to respond to the much appreciated scores of very nice notes online regarding today's news about Doctor Who. My interest and record is well established. The only real question I think the BBC would fairly ask is, would British fans be open to an American showrunner? I'll answer your question now, JMS. No more showrunners. Even one who was legally a resident of the UK under a visa that allows me to work for TV film in the UK. I think so, but I doubt they'd just take my word for it. Nor should they. The fan community would have to have their polite, constructive say. Where do you stand on JMS, maybe?
I've got no problem with it. I mean, Christian will know about Babylon 5 and how great he was with writing Babylon 5. I mean, again, I want somebody that is going to be a decent caliber to take over as producer, but also I don't want them in the limelight every 5 minutes like we've had with RTD. I just want them to get on with the necessary work and let's just do the usual press roundups when you're about to launch a series. That's it. I don't need any more than that. We don't need any more than that. As you said earlier, Brendan, the writing and the episodes will speak for themselves. Let them speak, let them breathe. You sit back and relax after you've done your work.
But John, the other thing is, can I just say, if you were watching Call the Midwife and they were doing their publicity round, do you see? I'd
never watch it. I'm sorry, Brendan.
No, but you see the producer. Do you see the producer of Casualty? Do you see the producer of all these shows? You see the actors. Why is it that Doctor Who we see the showrunner?
Well, he's behaved almost like a football manager at times, but he's not a football manager that just does the press interviews after the games. He's a football manager that wants to jump around everywhere and he's trying to score the goal himself. That's kind of what RTD has been like the last few years. We need somebody who is competent to do it and has the chops for it, but is also going to respect what has gone before, as in classic Doctor Who. Get Monster of the Week, get the good guy defeating the bad guy, a Time Lord traveling through time and space. The possibilities are limitless. That's what we need.
Well, what about this then? So JMS, you see, my opinion on JMS in one way is, look, I haven't watched his series. His age would concern me in one way, which is he still hungry? Has he still got great ideas? Because in the end, I agree with a competitive tender. I think merit should win. The best idea. The snag with a competitive tender is it's the BBC who's making the decision, and the BBC can craft a tender with all known bosses who kind of nuance a tender or a job application to make sure that the right person gets the job for them. And that's the snag. The BBC could craft this, that it's not really a competitive tender, only certain people can actually win it. That's my concern. Now, when it comes to JMS, my concern is, does he still have ideas? Does he still, on merit, have great things to do with Doctor Who? If he does, you're in the game, mate. Geraint Williams, good to see you. It's the end, but the moment has been screwed up. And just before I bring Sean in, I think John was talking about good old Doctor Who. Does he mean this?
What happened? Negative. No trace of alien waveform on Gallifrey.
We've won again. I sent the invaders back to their own planet. I'm rude, but that's...
How have we won? We fought no one but a few guards.
Well, I've never thought of taking it up seriously.
Taking what up seriously?
Well, killing people. little practice, you'd become quite proficient.
What does proficient mean?
As Castellan, you are responsible for security on Gallifrey. Castellan, I don't think you're very good at it. That's just my opinion. I'm a...
Is it over?
Yes. It's been a long, hard road, but the future of Gallifrey is assured. What? Please don't fire.
Hopefully
Fantastic.
that's... Yeah. Sean, what are your thoughts on that? He'll come in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think whoever, whoever comes in, you know, regardless of all the hoo-ha and who they are and what they do and are they good and all this, let the product speak for itself. I'd like somebody to come in and just do their work and let the product speak for itself. Like, go, there you go. It's what I meant to say before I disappeared. We needed a solid, like, just not an extraordinary, just a solid, decent run of Doctor Who. That's all we need to try to get people back. Because I worry that there's no appetite out there. And I don't mean with the audience. I mean, maybe not. But in terms of, like, other studios, who's going to stump up money for this? Because they'll be looking at this and thinking, it's been failing for 10 years. The money men or women, or who the hell's in charge, I don't care. Like, the money men are looking at it saying, right, we need to sort out what, like, right, are we going to bid for this? Are we going to waste our money on this? I wouldn't. If I was in charge of some streaming, I wouldn't go for this. I think it's failed. It's finished.
I think you really truly have to know what this tender process is all about, as in what the rules that are set in. Ellie Littlechild, we all know her in the Doctor Who circles. She says, for the record, my source never lied to me. We're all in this predicament today because things have changed. They simply had outdated information. I firmly believe things have been an absolute mess behind the scenes and plans were made to film in September if things had gone ahead. I think if you look at all this, a lot of us have been told information that now seems dud, or has something substantially changed of recent date. And I will remind everybody of this. It's 1985 again, not 89. 89, the show ended and it was cancelled. 85, the show was put on hiatus. And that is exactly where we are now. It will return at some point. We just don't know when. To those of you who are glad it's ended or over, just remember that just because you didn't like the last couple of series, it doesn't mean that no one did. I suppose that's true of many things. I hope we don't get a record like this again. Doctor in Distress. Oh, my God. Now, this is some of the reactions. What do you think of this one, everybody? I'll start with Christine in a minute. Up my neck of the woods, Brian said, as I said to many fans of Who, be careful what you wish for. Many people have hounded out RTD and Bad Wolf. They got what they wish. No series till 2029. I'm happy for Russell. He's now free from the abuse and the toxicity.
Well, be careful what you wish for. I tell you what, for a lot of the fans and general viewers, certainly, that aren't watching the show, if the show doesn't come back, a lot of them aren't going to think about it because they've already moved on. So in that respect, sometimes we do get what we wish for. Now, Russell being free of abuse and toxicity, I always come back and say he's the one who invites it. If he behaved in a professional manner and treated the audience with respect and the IP with care, then this wouldn't be an issue for him to deal with in the first place. So I'm glad we're getting a break.
I mean, the toxicity, I won't dwell on this, but you know, I did it recently. I had all my segments. The toxicity was introduced in the scripts by a certain RTD, and he seemed to be taking on certain fans. I'll just show you as an example.
Don't forget the Who pets need your super chats to save them.
I missed that.
And I've been looking for you ever since, for a whole year. So the last thing I expected was to land you on my podcast.
Remember, we had toxic men. We had conspiracy theorists. We baited Doctor Who fans. I mean, John, when I see Brian's comment, I also think, but RTD's no angel in this.
No, and before I start that, you've done it again. You've put a RTD Shooty era clip up on the show again tonight. and you do it out of spite. You don't do it for any other reason. You hate me, and you're a disgusting individual by doing that.
Hey, a lot of people agree tonight.
Yeah, and and it's always this time of night when I'm going to go to bed later, and it's going to be shooty who on my mind. Disgraceful behaviour. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, RTD invited it. RTD was.
Come on, babes, don't cry.
Yeah. RTD didn't have a problem with attacking people. RTD still doesn't have a problem with attacking people and pushing his own propaganda. So all these people who are talking about, I mean, things like this, I just think are complete nonsense because you're not actually looking at it objectively. They never look at, hang on a minute, what he did significantly altered the show so that someone else coming in is going to have to fix that issue going forward. The bi-generation, the gay doctor, all of that he brought into the show while he was insulting people. But also viewing figures were tanking. The brand was damaged. You know, they don't look at things like this, objective data, to say, hang on a minute, RTD brought this on himself. He's a grown man. He can take the little pushbacks if he's going to give it out. And I'm sorry, it's all come home to roost, isn't it?
I mean, I don't agree with abuse as in getting personal about, as I said, I always play the ball, not the man. So I've never agreed with some of the nonsense that is said. I just don't go there. I would try and maintain a certain standard there. So yes, nobody deserves abuse. Critical comment, yes. Toxicity is more subjective because it has been introduced by the plots. So bringing in Sean, Brian also said this. I just thought this was interesting. So somebody said, what happened? And Brian said, as I said to many fans of Who, be careful what you wish for. And that's when he went into that. I mean, Sean, where do you stand on this? Because it's a funny one, isn't it? I was an RTD fan, but this era, it seemed to be more divisive. It seemed to be trying to challenge certain fans. In certain interviews, he said stuff like, the Doctor has queer energy. And I thought, no, this has never been an issue. This has never been part of the canon of the character. You are changing the brand. You are changing the show. You are changing the whole formula. No. I'm trying to fill dead air while Sean.
It's just a mess. I mean, they've lost people from every quarter. Like, this didn't seem to work for anybody. And you know, and you know that Brian, I mean, you're a Newcastle United fan, so you know, God. But on the other hand, you know, we've heard this before. It's the same words that get trotted out. Now, you're right, nobody deserves abuse. In terms of critical reaction to something you've made, yeah, of course you're open to that. Everybody who creates, I am, you are, we're all open to it. You know, you're open to, like, you know, you put something you've made out there, you've done your best. If someone says it's rubbish, you've got to take that on the chin. Sometimes they might have a bit of a point, but for me, we've heard all these things before. And as for, you know, be careful what you wish for. Doctor Who's been dead a while now. Like, you know, they were just kind of like, they were like Dr. Frankenstein at a certain point. Like, it's already gone. And I think, you know, as Christine was saying earlier about, what was she saying about? Like, people have already moved on. Like, this is the biggest worry. The biggest worry for me, that people have just moved on. But you know, people can throw around all the words they want, but it just hasn't worked at all. And the show is in as precarious a position as it ever could be, because how many people are going to come back genuinely?
And
I don't know.
And it became niche. If you just look at that shot from Lux, it was this an endearing love letter to Doctor Who fans, because I couldn't see myself in any shape or form going on here. I just thought, I'm not that geeky, actually. I don't know, they seem naive in some ways. One of them was a bit conspiracy theorist. One was kind of, what was going on online. And I just thought, I think you're missing the mainstream, RTD. Always pitch to the mainstream. I don't know why we're speaking to the fans. What's going on here? I still don't know why we needed to see that scene. It just seems so unnecessary. And if I was a mainstream viewer not into Doctor Who but just trying it out, I'd just think this is crap because that was nonsense. Now, my media source, and of course he really does have skin in the game. I'm going to show you a few things here, so let's build it up properly, everybody. Of course I should. I might end up with some sauce on my face, actually. Yeah. Shh. Oh god, it's my BBC sauce. Hello, what is it? What do you want now? Really? Whoa! I'm completely sauced out! Yes, thanks, Garbage Who, and thanks, BBC Sauce, for throwing sauce all over my face. So, this is what my media source said. So, please take this.
Is anybody else really disturbed?
Well, I don't even, do you know, I don't even like sauce. I'm in talks to put a creative team together to pitch for the tender. Can't say much more at this stage. Obviously, he's a mate now, and I do know a little bit more of this, that, and the other. So let me just show a little bit more and see what you all think. So he says, if we can secure the writers that are bankable, the BBC are not going to take any chances. So we are looking at working with a major media company, right? Now, he does say this, and I thought John particularly would be interested in this. So remember, they're trying to get a pitch together. They are trying to get bankable, good Doctor Who writers together. They're going to try and get together with a major media company because financially, And then they say this: the Stargate situation will be front of our mind. The big problem is, do you go for new viewers versus fans? Reboot versus continuation? It's a headache and it's a costly one, because if you're going to make a pitch, where are you going to pitch it?
Yeah, I mean, again, the Stargate situation, yeah, that's at front of my mind at the moment after what's gone on the last week.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would go with exactly what has happened with Stargate, or what was going to happen before they cancelled it. It was honoring the past, but also having it as a jumping on point for new viewers. Now, the question is with Doctor Who is, where do you start the jumping on point? For me, it would be, they're not going to do it, but it would be effectively after Capaldi. But whoever does it, they're going to leave it very vague, aren't they? Really, I think they're going to leave it vague. They're not going to give the Doctor a number as and when that happens.
Yeah.
And I think you go with that. But I think you need to. I think you need to effectively have a pitch that honors classic Doctor Who. And I think that's the core to it. I think I've said it before. I think somebody who comes in has to put what I call a show Bible together. And for me, it is, when you're going to pitch it, this is what you cannot touch in the middle. You can work around the edges, but this is off limits, and that needs to be agreed. And I think, yeah.
I mean, sorry, it's just to bring John and Christian in at the same time. Sorry, Sean. It's relevant to this, and just see their reaction, everybody. So this media source, has a company, has a successful track record. You've seen what he's saying here. They are thinking of putting a pitch together. They haven't seen the tender yet, of course, because the BBC will set it up. Now, I was about to show his pitch that was abandoned because they changed their strategy. I've now pulled that because some of their ideas, which we're going to use, then we can't say too much, by the way, because I, Christian, and John have signed an NDA. This is very authentic. And some of the ideas that were pitched in a certain genre are now maybe in play for the actual live drama pitch. So what's interesting there, John and Christian, is I think I can say that it was dark, wasn't it? I think I can say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, isn't it? That I tell you what, I mean, we can't say much more. I'm sorry, folks, we can't tease you with anything. We've signed NDAs, that end of that. So, but yeah, the pitch I was about to show you, I've had to pull back.
Yeah, well, what I would say, Brendan, is he had a clear vision. The vision was distinct. I appreciated what was generated, and I can see the potential in it. But as John is saying, do you go for fans? Do you go for new viewers? Ideally, if you're doing it right with the series Bible, you create an umbrella that will bring in both the fans who have previously been disenfranchised and acquire new viewers as a starting point. And if you structure it in such a way that you have basically an unnumbered Doctor move forward, you may choose one day 10 years from now to do a story that links things up in some innovative way, but you don't have to, and you can still maintain the integrity of the show. It has to, though, go darker, and that was one of the things that the BBC had stipulated earlier they did not want to do. So again, if you've got stipulations in the tender that says, guess what, we want something that's only workable for CBBS, then it's a deal breaker. What's going to be in the tender?
Yeah, because it has to have commercial value. It has to have legs. Otherwise, you wouldn't bother.
One more thing to remember, and I know John is familiar with this, they could get the deal, and then 6 months down the road, after intrinsic grand preparation for it, have someone pull the rug right out from under.
Oh, yeah. Very, very possible. Michael Disney, I know you're asking me questions. As a teacher, former teacher, did you ever have a student lie to you? Oh, plenty. Then lie more to cover it up. I
do that to him. I do that to him all the time.
Kids who said they'd done their homework and they hadn't. Kids who said it was their own work and it wasn't. No, I don't cover up lies. I expose them. I wish you saw that actually when I was in the waiting room to see my relatives in hospital, I actually was trying to text certain things and I wasn't polite. I wasn't polite today. No way. So Michael Disney, you'll have to believe me on that one. So yeah, we're back to the same old argument. What the hell would you do if you had to make the pitch? And will the BBC allow you to have the option to start again if that was a possibility? I would prefer going down a bit what Andrew Cartmel was trying to do. Start with a mystery. Let's not make Sylvester McCoy mysterious. Start with the mystery. Almost like you're starting Doctor, as if you're starting Doctor Who again, and we rediscover him again, but he's actually a future Doctor. He's not number one. He's obviously way in the future. And let the mainstream viewer, let the people who've gone off Doctor Who or not heard of it, let them find it. So you really need to introduce it again, I personally think. I think a 2029 version of Spearhead from Space, a 2029 version of Rose. I think a mixture of things need to go on here, but we certainly don't need a regeneration. We certainly don't need to be bogged down with canon stuff. We need it to be gripping. We need it to be dark. We need it to be quirky. And I actually really do think make the Doctor so mysterious. You could actually not even introduce him as the Doctor and just let us go into the adventure and then start to discover things bit by bit. That's where I'd personally like to go. Whether the BBC will take that risk is by the by, really. Now, if this source is putting a pitch together, and I'll go up and down at the thread and the panel, these are his quotes. This is how he thinks about Doctor Who. Would you like him to actually be the new producer? He said, the show won't be back for a couple of years, so fans can breathe out and watch the box set. So, I mean, that's the obvious one just there. But then when he went into the details, he said stuff like this. Do you know what? Doctor Who recently went very, very, very wrong. It didn't go wrong slowly. It was immediately wrong. It wasn't Doctor Who. When it came out of the gate, it was not the show. It was not the right show. He agrees with us that this was not Doctor Who. would you like somebody like this to actually come back with the show? Would you trust them, Christian?
I would trust someone who has the capacity to recognize when the show is not the show. You would not get that from RTD or someone in RTD's camp, because in their mind, it's anything they want it to be. This shows the supposition that there's a specific formula and tone to the show that makes it Doctor Who. And if you've got someone who at least expresses that viewpoint, then you know you've got someone who's on the right track. Even if they're not exactly in the same lane you'd prefer them to be, at least they're going in the right direction. And you've got a starting place.
John, what are your thoughts? And then I'll come to Sean straight after.
I think I'm just looking at what he said there about it went very, very wrong immediately. It didn't go wrong slowly. It was immediately wrong. It wasn't Doctor Who. When it came out of the gate, it was not the show. It was not the right show. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Star Beast, I remember, I mean, I read the Star Beast again before that episode even aired. And I was like, I'm glad they're doing it. But then, yeah, as soon as you had that, you know, pronoun talk, cobblers and asking aliens about their pronouns and all of that stuff. And I was like, oh gosh, we're in for a hell of a few years, aren't we? And again, this is where we are. I think this goes back to what I said a few minutes ago, guys. You need somebody coming in who's going to take it seriously again, who's basically going to jettison all of this nonsense and then take it forward by being what it should be, an alien fighting monsters each week. You know, that's my view. And, you know, the source, you know, I can't say too much, but the guy already, from what we've seen the last few years, he understands Doctor Who a hell of a lot more than RTD did.
Apart from when he mentioned that Peter Davison years were dull, that didn't go down well.
Yeah.
We're all allowed a mistake.
I bit my lip when he said that that was when I had an alarm, but I thought I didn't want to say anything further.
Oh dear. So Sean, what are your thoughts on what he says here? I'm just going to test out whether you like the idea of this source making a pitch, because he might be successful. I'll tell you, if he's successful, I want to be a part of his team. But what do you think, Sean? Dead air again.
I'm shocked to hear you have a source. You've kept it bloody quiet. No, yeah, sorry, I'm having bother at this end with me internet. It's doing me head in. Yeah, I think it's nice to see somebody recognize it. And if they can recognize what goes wrong, you would hope on the flip side or where they could sort it out. But again, I just worry that it has to be gripping. It has to come back and absolutely fly out of the gates. That's the only way they will get people back. It's what I want to do with, like the stuff, or even, you know, shooting this episode. Well, I don't know, was it? It's rubbish. But that's the first start. The episode, it told you everything you needed to know. Everything you needed to know. Horrendous.
Now, Garrett Williams, thank you very much. Need to have it suitable for family viewing too. Is Stranger Things family viewing? Because I know kids watch it. I mean, this is what I mean. It's like, we know we've had discussions where the media source, this person here, was talking to a high-up BBC executive, and the BBC executive said, we will never show stuff like the last Capaldi story again. It was too dark. And then we all went, boo, hiss, you know, that's not what we want to hear. Has that changed? Michael Disney, I wonder how this source would fulfill the BBC's DEI strategy in their pitch. I don't know yet. I don't know. We haven't seen the framework yet. That's the trouble. We need to see what they are saying. If you remember the CBeebies one, it was very basic, wasn't it? It was really basic.
Very.
Frighteningly basic. I would hope for the main show it's going to be quite substantial, but like I said, it might craft it in a nasty way. Bungle Bear, bring it back as a movie franchise like the Cushing movies, existing stories at movie length. Now, you see, Bungle Bear, I'll just say, personally speaking, I'm reacting to that because I said earlier, I think for once, Doctor Who needs to be on the TV airwaves for a lot longer in the year. I know some people say make a TV movie, do 3 specials a year, do this, do that because of budget. I'm going the other way. I'm thinking, can we have more episodes, shorter episodes, cliffhangers, and just get Doctor Who kind of rooted like Japanese knotweed into the TV calendar so you can't get rid of it. If it's only going to be a special here and there, I think you can easily lose it. And I just think so. I'm respectfully disagreeing with you, but there you go. That's allowed. Would you like this source to be making a pitch? He said recently it was recognized he'd be Doctor Who again for a short period of time, and then it became something else. So it's all about the clarity of what the show are you making. And if you don't want to make Doctor Who, don't become the showrunner. If you want to make a completely different kind of show, go and make a different kind of show. So he's very clear on this. You do not change the Doctor Who formula. You dive into it more. I don't know if anyone's got a thought on that one.
No, he's absolutely right. If you're actually pitching to show run this particular IP, that means you're making this IP. Is he going to come in and say, oh gosh, I had this great idea. Let's turn it into another version of EastEnders. Everyone will clamor for it. No, that's not what you want. Go pitch to them and say you want to be a part of their team. This is Doctor Who. If you're in for Doctor Who, that's what you need to be doing. And we already know what Doctor Who is. And it sounds like he does too.
Well, Kronos, I know we're all in this position going, is anybody going to put money up front and all the rest of it? There are people, I'm aware, I've even spoken tonight. He was on the phone to me tonight. There are people wanting to make Doctor Who. They obviously want to get their ducks in a row, and they need to see what the BBC says in their competitive tender pitch thing. But Kronos, it's not a question of what to do with Doctor Who. It's a question of finding sane people to make it. By the way, I obviously know this media source. He knows his onions. I don't know if there's any place for people like that at the BBC right now. This is outsourced though. Because of the Royal Charter, it's outsourced. So that you're not actually in the same position as all the BBC stuff. So you might get away with it, is my argument. What about this one, lads? And please just come in if you want to say something about it. He said this. There's an important point here that unless you put writers on franchises who respect the past, who are able to take it in a different direction, then it doesn't make the show different. I mean, if you look at what Stephen Moffat did, he set it in a different direction. It became this sort of dark fairy tale. So yet again, we've got the media professional here saying, if you really want to make a pitch for Doctor Who, if you really want to see a future in Doctor Who, you do not change it and you respect what it has been. I can only deduce from that, John, that you are not going to have another 15th Doctor, very human, very different in that way. You're going to see a Doctor-esque character.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it has to be that way, though, doesn't it? I mean, let's be honest. That is critical to the survival of the show and the rebuilding and the regenerating of the show, because anything that deviates from what is a core Doctor is just going to crash and burn now. Because, look, as I said earlier, when we came back for the 60th, after the Jodie Whittaker era, everything was on life support, and we thought to ourselves at the time, with RTD coming back, they really have no other options now. They have to get this right. They have to make this work, and it failed catastrophically. Now they're going in a different direction. They're going in a different direction, and effectively, they need to basically make sure it is nuts and bolts Doctor Who, because if it isn't, people are going to say no to it in a second.
Pop Crash. I mean, there's some great comments. I'm trying to keep up with you all. Pop Crash. For every reboot that's worked, there's 10 that haven't. It needs to continue on, and it needs to have one-off stories, but still needs to move along sensibly. All shows have some progression. I agree with that. I mean, the show can't just stand still. But it's just the word change. They're really, I mean, Sean, they're really in the last 2 series, in every interview, they said, Doctor Who's about change. Doctor Who's about change. Well, you normally change the lead actor now and again in a regeneration story, but when they said that, this source does acknowledge that a writer or showrunner can take it in a direction. I mean, Leisure Hive And season 18 was so different from season 17, but it was still Doctor Who. But I have to say, a lot of people were starting to say that season 1 and 2 under this RTD2 era wasn't really the Doctor Who that had gone before. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I think it lost it in the Whittaker era first off, but I think, it's like Doctor Who. It depends what you mean by change, because it's like Doctor Who. If Doctor Who's a car, it's like the car can, it can have a respray. You can soup it up, add bits and bobs, add a bit of law in it. But under the hood, under the bonnet, Jesus, it's the same engine. It's got the same, it's the same thing pushing it forward. They've lost that years. Like, you've ended up with a it's not been Doctor Who. It's been some with the Doctor Who titles slapped on it, and we're all meant to sit here and, oh, thank you for this. It's amazing. You have, like you said, RTD was the nuclear option, and it's failed, and now you're wondering, like, what on earth could they do? Because I saw was it Shalom Dalek say, what? Yeah. This is a mess. It's an absolute mess.
And actually,
there's no easy way out of it.
And actually, talking to my media source, he knows they probably need to go big. They need to go with a heavyweight actor. They know that you can't do an unknown at the moment. It's too in danger. It's too fragile as a brand. You can't risk a Matt Smith, sadly, is what they're thinking. But you don't go for a heavyweight actor that's so famous that it swamps the show. It's dangerous.
I believe Matt Smith would save it, though. That's the shame. And Matt Smith would save it for me.
Well,
an unknown who comes in and blows you away. Because going for a big name, Brendan, that's just refreshing. Tennant back, refreshing that same hackneyed, rubbished idea of, where if we get somebody big in, well, number one, is anybody big going to come to this? Two, even if you do get somebody big, are they going to stay around for the long haul? Probably not. What the show needs is like a few years of a solid actor doing a decent show with decent writing, gets people back involved in it, and actually gives you something to attach to. We're not attached to anything at the minute. We're just attached to the need to be attached to it again.
I think if they went for a big actor, they need to do something like, it has to have a different tone to what it has been the last few years. It's not just, oh, here's another episode of Doctor Who with a famous actor. I think you could get a more of a heavyweight actor, but seen in a very different way, because they're a heavyweight actor. They've got the skills to do it. They can get the headlines, but we're going to see a very different version of them and a very different version of Doctor Who. I think if you did that, then you get the headlines and it's noticeable. If it just ends up being another series like season 1 and 2, but with a famous actor, I would say don't bother making it. You've got Warbs here saying Mackenzie Crook in the Dickensian Uriah Heep frock coat with the manic energy of a dotty professor would be the perfect retcon for the last 20 years. There you go. There's an example. Benjamin Davis cast Robert Carlyle. He'd be the perfect darker Doctor. I like the thinking of the last two there, actually. Farsight, the Doctor has to go back to what the Doctor was: archetypal, male, British, eccentric, boffin. Let's just see what the pitch has to do. Does it say it's a gender fluid Doctor? Because if they say that, I think a lot of people won't make the show. I honestly do. Cliff, good to see you. Who remembers the first reboot? Intro explained it all, and Paul again started the whole thing on anew. They had a preamble that explained what had transpired between, and that could easily be done. The snag with that one, if you're talking about the Doctor Who movie, was I think they all regret doing the Sylvester McCoy regeneration. I think they should have just started with Paul McGann. I love Sylvester McCoy in that movie, but I think that was a bit of a mistake. Randy Howell, thank you very much. You're 50 minutes behind. The BBC, I'm always behind. The BBC dropped their press release shortly after the tiptoe conclusion, totally stealing RTD's glory. Sounds like revenge to me. I understand that RTD's not very happy about things, actually. That's my understanding, but hello. Steve Enge, the classic series always changed in tone after each regeneration, but the key was that it was always recognizable Doctor Who. That's very, very true. Obviously, I want to say thank you. So There's a quickie. Thank you, Randy. Now, our source, who is trying to get everything together to actually go for it, to take hold of the program, also said this about the Christmas special that now no longer exists. If it's not introducing a new actor, what is the effing point? 3 million for Piper and Tennant to snog while McGann watches. And the general public don't know McGann was a doctor. It's too long ago. These people are idiots. He has been consistent. Why bother doing a Christmas special? Why throw all this crap at the screen? Why not just get your ducks in a row and come up with a new series? Well, now, Source, you've got your wish. I think we're all pleased about that, because I think the Christmas special was just going to introduce or continue too many problems. What about this one, John, Christian, and Sean? Our source, who wants his mitts on the show, said this: you could have done 26 half hours. A half hour's world build, 26 cliffhangers, shoot it back to back. That would have been much more cost effective. Less sets, because once you've struck a set, you're reusing more sets. So he goes on about the budget. He's thinking about the budget. He quite likes the Nerva Beacon idea of recycling. And you could have had cliffhangers, and you could have had a longer series on the airwaves. What do you think, Christian?
I think that's the right way to go. I was thinking when we were talking earlier, I would actually like stories that were broken into 3 segments. So instead of getting one episode of roughly 45 minutes, add a little more detail, depth, construction to it, and let a story actually breathe through 3 installments. So that means you're tripling the number of nights that it can air. And if you spread that out over the course of half a year, as you're wanting, and as a lot of us would like to see, Doctor Who will have a larger cultural footprint, because it's kind of always on and people are thinking about it and waiting to hear the next installment, because there was a cliffhanger last week. And for a handful of people that prefer to binge, they may wait a couple of days until the episodes pile up and then watch the story together. They can still do that. There's a variety of things that you can do, but the idea is to kind of follow this model. It's more productive.
Interesting points coming through before I come to John. Doctor Who Rating says the show is going to be 100% different. Any ideas you have of what the show has been the past 20 years, give it up. I like this idea, John, that whoever takes over, mind you have to win the pitch, and it's the BBC or the referee, that it is nothing like New Who.
100%. I don't want all, I want to get rid of all of the fam nonsense, the whole, all the family go in the TARDIS, the whole, we're all in it together mentality. I want to get back to a doctor that is going on adventures with a companion or 2 companions in the TARDIS with him and just fighting monsters. I want it to be dark as well. I want it to scare kids. I want to be seeing a doctor in a creepy house and suddenly there's a hand that comes around the corner in a dark room. That's what I want from Doctor Who again, and I think that's what they need to get back to. Now, as you said earlier, Stranger Things is a family show. They devised it to be a family show, so you can scare kids, but that's the core of it. You have to get back to scaring kids again. If they're not prepared to do that, it's done. And certainly you need to get rid of this nonsense of, well, you can't have Davros in it because, while he's in a wheelchair, or life support machine, because, it's just not right in this day and age. It's absolute codswallop. You need to get all of that jettisoned and move forward with taking the show seriously again.
Master's Joke, lovely to hear you, and thank you. Everybody's allowed an opinion tonight. We've had some tasty ones. I love your show, always watch it. It's time Doctor Who was back on the big screen. Forget about doing a series and bring back the Daleks. Old school nostalgia overload. I know what you mean, but and I even talking to the source tonight, he said, well, there's space to do the Daleks. There's always space to do the Daleks. But I said, personally speaking, if the source wants to listen to me, and I said this tonight, I said, why not do a 2029 version of season 13, where most of the stories were moving forward, new villains, new monsters, Zygons, Crinoids, etc. And it was darker, And it was, I mean, come on, season 13. Does anybody want to try and top it? Not a bad start. I'm not too sure about the big screen masters joke, because I feel as though Doctor Who was always better when it was never trying to big itself up. I always liked Doctor Who when it was the little brother. It was the little and trying to kind of, take on Star Wars, in 25 minutes on a Saturday night after Grandstand. That's the version of Doctor Who I thought worked. But, each to our own, we're all different. I mean, Sean, your thoughts on what you'd like from Doctor, because you came to Doctor Who later. You really weren't into this 26 episodes a year, blah, blah, blah. We're the cruds here. What do you think now, Sean? Because I do think this might work.
I agree. I think you've got to do something radically different in terms of how many episodes we're getting, because it needs a bit of traction. It needs to be around long enough for people to take notice. And if it's not, like if they just bang a series out there of like 6 episodes, there's a whole discussion you can have over why we could, why could TNG knock out so many episodes a year and now they can barely knock out 6? But it needs that longevity. I think it needs something different. It just needs to be good. I don't care what the format is. It just needs to be good. Yeah, I'm desperate for it to be good, but what it needs now is a good rest, I think.
I do think the format needs cliffhangers. I think that was a major mistake. I really do. I mean, this is what our source thinks. I mean, does everybody like this? He said Toby Whitehouse would be a superb showrunner, and he would be amazing at that. He would be the best person. There you go. I'll just add a bit more here. Remember, he said, though, that the person who might be the judge, they don't want to scare the children anymore. That's the downside of all this. But this is our source, getting into his DNA. Why would you watch Doctor Who? Why would you watch that and see all that weird kind of lecturing, being told you should be this, you're a racist, you're a transphobe, it's suicide. What's the vision that can put all that behind the show and can attract the audience? I mean, I hope everybody likes the sound of this source, because he actually does think very similarly, which is it's been too on the nose. It's actually been too lazy. I really do think it has been lazy. It's been very superficial, lightweight storyline, because they don't want cliffhangers and they don't want 4 episodes. It's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And then a lot of exposition, a quick bit of messaging at the end. It tends to be politically heavy. It's not a good narrative.
Well, it's a weak narrative when they try and operate that way. We know what goes into a good story. We know because we saw it for roughly 26 years during the classic era, and even a number of stories in the new era. We know what a good story looks like. And yet the BBC has allowed for virtually a decade a whole slew of bad stories and bad executive decisions to be exercised in relation with this show. That needs to stop. You need to bring the show back to what it once was, and it can be that again if they hire the right people for it. The question is, will they, or will the tender conditions make that very hard to realize?
Yeah. Michael Nemo, thank you very much. Reminds me of all the jobs I've had in my life where morale in a workplace is low because, the management are clueless of how to manage the business or interpersonal relationships, and they're represented by robotic HR. I seem to remember, John, it wasn't long ago that we heard there were a lot of Bad Wolf staff low down who were jobless, who were looking for other jobs because suddenly there was a gap in the schedules when they were expecting to make series 3. It very much the point Michael Nemo's making.
Yeah, 100%. Too many chiefs and not enough lieutenants, quite frankly. That's what's going on. I mean, it's not just Doctor Who, though, but you look at productions at Disney and other places, and Christian sort of touched on it earlier. The number of producers you have on the credits is ridiculous. And I think that's where the budget goes, because a lot of it gets skimmed off to the producers that are on the project. And again, if you eliminate a lot of the fat, then you've got a much better budget, a not lower budget, but a budget that can stretch further to make something good.
Well, exactly. I mean, Simon, you've asked a good question about what we're going to do for the next few years. I tell you what, I know I'm going to go do some weeding, I think. Jess Corbin, 4 episodes, then 4 weeks, nothing, then another 4 episodes and a mega Christmas special. Maybe, as Brendan says, cliffhangers with the whole of the year gradually ending up to a great finale. I think my bottom line, Sean, is I do think the Doctor Who needs to be across the TV schedules more, but not expensive. I'm steering away from this TV movie thing. I'm steering away from all that now. I think it's important that it's just rooted in the schedules. That's what I'm thinking anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a TV film or a whatever else film, or even a few specials here and there, it's not enough. It's 2 here today, gone tomorrow, and then if added to that the quality is not that great, then you're in trouble. Like it just needs solid writing, and it needs to come back, and it certainly needs to frighten people. It needs to make an impact, and not an impact of like, oh, this will upset the right people. Impact in terms of people are going to be talking about this. You look at some of the biggest programs on British TV over the last few years. Mr. Bates versus the Post Office being a massive example. Nobody was sitting around going, "Oh, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office is going to be on." People watched it and said, "Hey, it's bloody good, this." And people went out there and said to the mates at work, the mums, the dads, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, whatever, "Hey, have you seen this program? It's brilliant, That's well worth watching. Well worth your time in your life to spend a bit of time watching that. Trust me, find a bit of time and watch it. Oh, it's brilliant that. You pass that on. That's what Doctor Who's missing. It needs that positive buzz."
Would you buy into this, everybody? Wolf instead says, if I was a showrunner, you have 2 episodes per week with a cliffhanger tying the 2 together, a bit like Silent Witness does, and a lot of shows, actually. Look, I do think we need a cliffhanger. If that's the way to go, I think I could buy into it. What do you all reckon?
I think that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, agree. I think it needs to go back to that.
It's a kind of modern version of how Doctor Who was, I suppose, if we can't go back to the 4 episodes of 25 type thing. Good to see you, Matt McGee. So he wasn't coming up with scripts while brushing his teeth after all. And maybe he's got no teeth left. Maybe he's ran out. You dare never know. And our source who...
Are we pining for...
Sorry, my Dalton does have skin in the game, and that's what's happened with this latest Disney era. They were making it for an audience that just doesn't show up, didn't care, didn't exist. Because if they want to watch Heartstoppers, if they want to see that, they'll go and watch Heartstoppers. You see, I used to really like listening to all this, and I was talking to him again tonight, and he does get the heartbeat of Doctor Who. And we've said this, haven't we? Don't make Doctor Who like another show. Make Doctor Who like Doctor Who. I really do think we've had as I used to say, the analogy, Diana Ross, World Cup, opening ceremony. She had an open goal and she missed the bloody thing. I mean, honestly, it's as if RTD2 had an open goal. All he had to do was deliver Doctor Who with a lot more bloody, money. And what did he do? He gave us breaking the fourth wall, a drag queen villain. Not against drag queens per se, but I don't know why we were doing it, because it looked panto. The costume was all panto. I have to say, when I saw the Maestro in Devil's Cord and you saw that whole outfit and the way she acted, it reminded me of the 1960s series Batman and Robin, which had a tongue-in-cheek. It deliberately had a tongue-in-cheek, but I don't want Doctor Who made to be tongue-in-cheek. I don't want that.
But that was the whole idea. The whole idea was to create variants of currently existing popular social movements or programs. And for 2 straight seasons of RTD Productions, most of the stories leaned into that. We need to avoid that like the plague.
Yeah. And final thun for Mike Sauce. He said this obviously a while back, and of course things have changed now because he can make a pitch. It's just whether he wants to. In the new landscape of TV, they will say, can we bring back this franchise? And then they'll start taking pictures. But I don't even know if they'll take pictures Now they have now opened it up to outside tender. I think what they'll do is they'll go to somebody who's already had a hit show, who's a fan of Doctor Who, and that's my understanding of what our source is going to do. It's going to be hopefully somebody's established who knows their Doctor Who inside out. People who believe in Doctor Who, not people who want to make a completely different show. And that just makes me feel a little bit better on a day when we hear that Russell T Davies has definitely left Doctor Who. So, I mean, any little final thoughts from you, Christian?
At last, we can finally relax with the confirmation that he's on his way out. And now it's just be patient and let's wait and see what unfolds so that hopefully we'll get something good on the other side. The question is simply when.
Yeah. John, what are your final thoughts?
Delighted that he's gone, and the annoying people at Bad Wolf in the production side of things that have caused so much damage to Doctor Who. I just think it's a positive step. I still think there's a lot to do. I mean, again, I'm not going to get what I wanted, and that is retconning Ncuti Gatwa and Jodie Whittaker. Yeah. But I think what someone is going to do, hopefully, who are sensible, is they will actually just go forward with a new Doctor, and they just won't know anything from the past. They'll just move forward with their own production. And it'll be like the TV movie Half Human kind of thing. You know, we kind of just shift it off. I mean, people will, I won't, because I still have a problem with it. But I just hope someone takes it, wins the tender for it, who's going to take it seriously and actually look to get it back to where it was without the nonsense.
Now, we don't know, as I come to Sean, we don't know why suddenly everything changed today regarding no Christmas special, no Bad Wolf, no RTD. But I have to say, if we see it in another way, Sean, did somebody high up suddenly say the David Tennant arriving in a cameo, Billy Piper in a cameo, trying to kind of join all the dots and kind of bury, Poppy and do various things? Maybe somebody had some common sense and said, shall we not? Because they maybe realized that the Billy Piper clickbait didn't work. It became an object of ridicule. Everyone laughed at it. Everybody knew that this was just a ruse. Maybe they saw David Tennant and thought, we don't want any more. I wonder, Sean, if somebody in the BBC actually said, hold on, brakes on, I don't think this is going to work, and I think we need to pull back. I just wonder, Sean, whether some sense came into the room. Or you see, and
I mean, I've got to be honest. Probably not. I think, I don't know why it's gone, but I mean, it's a shame. If it was common sense a few years ago when you saw this trash go, my last thought, we wanted to work. Anyone who's listening to this who loved this last run, RTD2, God bless, wanted it to work as much as you did, right? You might want different things out of your TV. We all wanted this to work. We all wanted it. Hasn't worked at all. Hasn't worked one iota. It's been an embarrassment. It's over with now. Fingers crossed, if Doctor Who can come back, I worry it can. And hopefully when it does come back, they'll have learnt the lessons. Hopefully they don't just think it got tired and we'll try again. No, you need to think about this. Don't marvel it. Take your time, think about it. And fingers crossed it'll come back as good as it ever was. If it doesn't, we've still got our favourite series to go back to.
So
I fear this might be the end.
So
but I hope it's not.
As Doctor Who Rating says here, one of the reasons the BBC cancelled the special is that they did not want to go up against Harry Potter and Sky, which will break records and would have left them further humiliated. I mean, that starts my streaming career when I think it was our first show on another channel when we discussed that. And I do wonder, New Who Hater, the end of a very long nightmare. It's a dream ending for me. I always expected everyone to kiss his. I mean, It is one of those, isn't it? I think it's 20 years is a good go, and I think it now needs to move on. If you think of the classic series, when we got to 20 years, it's starting to do a bit of fan service, you know. We all liked Mordrin Undead to a degree, the clips, Earthshock, the clips, Logopolis, the clips, but you know, you just started to think, don't do it too much. Go on.
Can I just say something else, Brendan? And this is at RTD and Julie Gardner and Jane Tranter. Okay, I remember, you know, when they did the anniversary one and they were smelling RTD's farts. You know, that documentary for 20 years of New Who. And I remember them saying, do you remember they talked about, and I'm paraphrasing, where they talked about they started mocking classic Doctor Who towards the late 80s.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say about the late 80s is they had a ridiculously low budget and they were trying. And Andrew Cartmell did a fantastic job. If he had half the money that RTD had, he would have done a knockout series beyond belief. It would have been great, in my opinion. Now, what I'd also say on that subject is, let's have a look at the last classic Doctor Who episode, Survival. They wrote that beautiful piece at the end where the Doctor and Ace walk off, you know, and they left it in a position where somebody could pick up the reins if it came back. And they did the TV movie. There wasn't a problem because they'd set that up so someone could pick up the baton and go with it. Now you contrast that with RTD and Bad Wolf. He's regenerated Ncuti Gatwa into Billy Piper, you know, and it's like Solon is trying to create a prototype for the Morbius body. When you see Billy Piper on Ncuti Gatwa, it's that bad. but he did that, and they did that, and they allowed that to stand. And if it's true what he's saying, that there was never a script and they were never going to do it, that's just a spiteful thing to do.
Well, it's bloody disgusting to actually just have a character appear. The regeneration story is always sacred in Doctor Who. We've listed the ones that are our favorites. And to then just play with it as a gimmick and you don't know how to get out of it, I think is sloppy. It's tantamount to vandalism. And it's so unnecessary. A Fade to Black, or as we've said at the end of 1989, just a lovely little monologue. And that's all you needed. You really didn't need to go down this road. And of course, it had to be a female doctor. I mean, it just had to be. Just to kind of try and provoke a little bit more. Just so unnecessary. And as you said, John, there are so many executive producers.
Yeah.
All on very good money. And nobody said, should we just lower the atmosphere? Should we just lower the temperature? Should we just finish it quietly? And then it might be a neater start in the future if we do believe in Doctor Who. I just think they got carried away. That's the problem.
Yeah, 100%.
So, John, Sci-Fi Chronicles 79, what you're up to?
Well, I'm a bit like you at the moment. I'm doing Stargate SG-1 watch parties, but, you know, they've poo-pooed the new Stargate series. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to start doing a show talking about Coronation Street or EastEnders next. I don't know.
Yes. I'm going to
do Doctor Who's canned. It'll be literally me and Brendan will be doing live shows each week with Christian, and it'll be about how to find the perfect sticks in the woods or something like that. You know?
Well,
we'll get 80,000 for that.
Joe's very keen for me to do a show about Tiptoe, I have to say.
Oh, we're gonna have to watch that.
I have opinions.
I convulse just thinking about it, to be honest with you.
So Sci-Fi Chronicles 79, still on Sundays, aren't you? Still producing that.
Yeah. Stargate 8:30 on a Sunday night, 12:30 p.m. PST for you Americans, and it's just watching 2 episodes per week of Stargate SG-1. So yeah, thanks for bringing it up, mate. Appreciate it. But it's been great hanging out with you guys again tonight.
Thank you very much. And of course, Sean, he'll come in eventually. I'll try and fill the dead airs. He comes flying in and tells us about his channel. Review yourself. Come in anytime, Sean, and I'll shut my face. Okay, you just come in.
You're right, cheeky sod. You're right, cheeky sod. You're a cheeky sod. Honestly, honestly, if it's not, I've got this sauce, I've got that sauce, I've signed an NDA. Well, I've got no sauces, I've signed no. Not important. I'm a bit gobby, and I've got a delay. Christ knows why. Never have it when I do my podcast. Yeah, I'm Sean. Lovely to be here, though. I'm Sean from Review It Yourself. Wherever you get your podcast, you can get them there. Film reviews without the faff. Just brutal honesty about films. We don't do a lot of modern films because they're generally crap. But yeah, go and have a listen to that. It's me and my co-host Sarah, just basically talking about films. Me and John did an episode on Star Trek Enterprise Series 1. Loved it.
Yeah,
So
we did. It's great.
Yeah, out every Sunday.
So there you go, everybody. My rule last week, I don't know how many shows I can do at the moment. It is a bit tight. Serendipity today, but things are still difficult. I still don't know which direction we're going in regarding what's going on in hospital. So this moment, I did a show last Thursday, I think it is. So I don't know when the next one is. So stick with us and I'll try my best. I may even do one tomorrow. You never know. I just don't know. It might be a short one though. But thanks, lads, for joining us. Thanks, Thread, for joining us. Yeah, it's a moment, isn't it? Suddenly we've gone from is there a Christmas special to suddenly going, is there a bloody program? But anyway, there you go. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back and we've got plenty to talk about. It's just what? See you later, everyone.
See you all. Bye.